Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining today's community chat, traditional Sunday big community chat that we have, fundraising stream also. And if you find my work during the previous week interesting, useful, informative, please consider to donate to this project, and that will be a great encouragement, of course, for next week to do even more work, right? For new members of a community that may don't know anything about these community chats, I will explain. And recently, by the way, in past couple of days, couple of videos, streams, and clips from the live streams did manage to break through shadow ban and reach wider audience. And we have approximately 150 new members. And if one of them are, or some of them are on the stream right now, I will say that on Sundays we have big community chatter during the which I'm engaged there with the community, going through comments, answering questions. We just talk. That's this stream is about us, right? About exchange of opinions. Of course, if I have to give a priority to the comments or the questions through Super Chatter on Rumble. I'm streaming on both my channels simultaneously on YouTube and Rumble. So, of course, I have to give priority to Super Chat from Rumble. Also, if there is questions or the comments through other support platforms, PayPal or Boosty, for example, links you can find under this video in description box. And on top of that, of course, I'm engaged with the chat, and I will just ask to use capital Q or capital letters if your comment or the question is directed to me, so that I will see it easier while scrolling through the chat. And yeah, that's about it. I have prepared the news segment, nevertheless, and I will start with the chat, then first block from the news segment, then chat again, and the news segment, and like that, as I did in last couple of Sundays, right? That's been said, dear friends. I see question from one loot, and comment, and the question is, hello on RT. One is spewing that USA used LRADs on the military in Venezuela, explains what happened to them, but did not give any links to see that survivor. Have you heard of it? No, unfortunately, I don't know what LRADs are actually. Maybe you can explain a bit more what that is. What I see in regards to Venezuela from Russian side, there was some statements from Russian ambassador. He did share some of his knowledge about the situation, but most importantly, my observation, personal observation, is that Moscow is kind of trying to keep a sort of a neutral stand, even though Russian foreign ministry was very critical about the actions of the US administration, US militaries. Russian foreign ministry called it a criminal action, what was happening there, this kidnapping of Maduro, bombing of the Venezuela. But nevertheless, seems like Moscow is trying to maintain somewhat okay level relationships with this new regime in Venezuela, which is a US puppet regime, obviously. And such a diplomatic attitude towards this new regime of traitors that are left in Venezuela by US, untouched at least for now, indicates to me personally, you might disagree with me, but indicates to me that maybe in negotiations between Washington and Beijing, and I'm quite sure there was a trade-off between Washington and Beijing to get rid of Maduro for time being, allow US to establish control over the Venezuela, over the Western Hemisphere. Basically, that's what US's declared strategy is not it? And maybe China was hoping that in this case, US will leave them alone in their part of the world, which is a big mistake, obviously. US not going to honor any agreement that they might possibly reach with the Beijing. But I think Moscow was possibly engaged in all this situation in some ways. And this is only explanation, only logical explanation, possible involvement of Moscow that explains why Russia was not making any critical statements in regards to Venezuelan regime, this CIA regime in Venezuela, because they all are traitors, right? They allow US militaries to go in without any hostilities, right? With exception of just a few episodes. They allow US militaries to go in, kidnap their president, and leave the country without any significant issues, which is, by the way, only can be explained if Venezuelan militaries, security services had an order to stand down, and such order could be issued only by government of Venezuela, right? I think Maduro himself probably was involved in this trade-off. He will spend a year or two in the US custody, then will be released, exchanged with someone that may be in Chinese custody or Russian custody, right? Maduro not going to spend all his life in US prison for sure. But in any case, no matter who was involved from this regime, Venezuelan regime, in this trade-off, it's a treason of Venezuelan people, right? It's a treason of Venezuelan people. In any case, right? Because the Venezuelan people did not support either Maduro or anyone else from his party that are formally still in charge in Venezuela to then come up with this kind of freak show that they did. And I remind you, dear friends, that only forces that actually offer the resistance to US incursion troops or US special forces were Cubans, right? And Cuban specialists were, I believe, in personal security detail of Maduro. And neither Maduro, neither his government, this treasonous government, were not in position to order Cuban militaries or their officers of the Secret Service to stand down. And therefore, US military reserve special forces went in and killed 32 Cuban citizens, right? So that's what is happening. I think Moscow knew what was going on, was partially involved probably in all this story. But I think major players in this trade-off were Washington and Beijing. But Moscow probably was informed about it by both sides, right? Just to make sure that this freak show will go down smoothly, as it did, right? But when it comes to this particular comment of yours, Luther, about LRADs were used or something like that, I just don't know what LRADs means, so I cannot comment on something that I don't know. In any case, because this was a clear treason of the Venezuelan people, I have no doubts that it's only a matter of time, little time, by the way. I'm not talking about years, I'm talking about days, weeks, maybe max a couple of months, and we're going to see organized armed resistance from the leftist movements in Venezuela against this CIA puppet regime that is being left in Venezuela, right? It's just inevitable, in my personal opinion. Let's scroll through the chat. I see question, by the way, from Bold Eagle. Is it true that 2 Russian ships are parked outside Washington and Hawaii? I have not heard about this, Bold Eagle. I don't know. Last news I read about deployment of Russian Navy vessels was, there was 2 reports, right? One that allegedly Russia sent their submarine and also frigate or something to escort Marinera tanker that was eventually intercepted by US militaries. And I guess either Russian militaries did not make it in time to Marinera, or maybe Russian warships were in an area of operation, but did not receive order to get involved, right, or to engage these terrorists from the US, right, that hijacked the vessel from US and the UK. By the way, I remind you, Marinera was hijacked by US and UK terrorists. Americans and British can call them militaries or something, but these are terrorists, right? US militaries are terrorists and mass murderers. British militaries are terrorists and mass murderers, as the regimes in UK and the US are. It's a terrorist, Nazi, fascist regimes, man, period, right? This has to be said straight away. So that's the one instance when I heard the news about it. And Western propaganda was actually pushing this narrative that, well, during this hijacking of the Russian tanker, there was a Russian naval assets there, but they did not do nothing. I don't know. Maybe maybe it's true. Maybe these Russian Navy assets make it to Marinera, but did not receive order to engage those terrorists that were hijacking the vessel, or maybe they just did not make it, right? And Marinera was, without any security there, so it was easily hijacked by US and UK, British terrorists and mass murderers. That's one instance that I heard anything about deployment of Russian Navy in past several days. And another instance is that Russian Navy is participating in naval exercises in South Africa, in South African waters. And these exercises are taking place right now, right? It started on 9th of January, I believe, and will last for a couple of days. And alongside the Russian Navy, obviously South African Navy is engaged there, Chinese Navy is engaged there in these exercises, and also reports are that Iran also sent its Navy to participate. Iran allegedly sent biggest vessel that it has. It's a drone carrier or something like that. I have seen videos of it. If videos were actually from South Africa, well, that's quite a big vessel actually, right? Like an aircraft carrier, by the way, although for drones. And these exercises are allegedly taking place under the umbrella of BRICS, which is which can be indicator that BRICS member states are actually working on building a military wing to the organization, which is absolutely necessary. Actions, these reckless criminal terrorist actions of the US and other Western countries, by the way, clearly leaving no space for the rest of the world to be calm and chill, right? Definitely certain security architecture has to be built outside of the collective West to just protect ourselves, right? Because today, US and its allies are acting discriminately against Venezuela. Tomorrow they will attack, I don't know, Cuba, for example. Day after, Iran, and they will just don't stop if there is no deterrent in the place. And we have to build this deterrent. And BRICS is offering quite a good platform for that. Although some might say BRICS is a big disappointment for many reasons, and I will agree on that, man. Such a disappointment, right? But again, for many reasons, including for absence of high-level cooperation, including in the military field, and also absence of significant progress in terms of building alternative financial and the banking system, which is absolutely crucial, by the way, right? Until we will have no alternative financial and the banking system, Western ruling class will be able to decimate economies of countries after countries after countries, isn't it? Because current world trade is basically built on a Western financial and the banking system, which is tremendously weaponized, right? Absence of alternative from BRICS is one of the reasons why US is able, or the Western world is still able, by the way, to mess around Cuba, right? Destroy Cuban economy. And they will say, while destroying the economy with these illegal sanctions, that, well, you see, government and their system in Cuba is failing. No, man. There is economical hardship in Cuba because of your illegal sanctions, not because government is failing or not. We don't even know what kind of achievements that government would have if not these criminal embargoes and sanctions from the West, right? Same can be said about Iran. There is a massive unrest in Iran, and Western propaganda outlets, Western so-called politicians, public figures are going crazy, isn't it? That you see Irani's regime is failing. There is a people's unrest. They are not happy with the economy. Tell me why they are not happy with the economy. Why Iran is experiencing being extremely rich with their natural resources, also a technologically advanced country. Why are they struggling? Maybe because of illegal thousands of illegal sanctions from the Western world. Maybe that has something to do with it. Just saying, right? So, and this Western ruling class is able to do this horrible damage to countries left and right because still to nowadays there is no alternative for financial and the banking system, no alternative trading, construction, right? Trade, international trade construction in a place that would not be hijacked by the Western ruling class. All we hear is just freaking talks, man. Talks on BRICS side also, right? And that's why I'm saying personally that it's a big disappointment, BRICS. And I can go on, by the way. There's so many reasons, right, to be critical of BRICS at this point due to absence or lack of progress, which is absolutely vital for a multipolar world to actually emerge, right? We are talking about emerging multipolar world. This multipolar world will never happen if we are this slow in developing all the necessary infrastructure, right? Anyways, when it comes to your question, Bold Eagle, about presence of Russian naval assets, not far away from east coast of US, not far away from Washington, or on the west coast, not far away from Hawaii, although Hawaii hardly can be called the west coast of US. It's a completely separate area in Pacific, isn't it? But anyways, I have no data about it to confirm or no this information, but would not be surprised at all. After all, Russia is operating with the numerous blue water warships, right? And there are numerous nuclear submarines that can be anytime, anywhere in this world, right? So I don't know any more than I already said about it. So thank you for your question. Let's continue with the chat. Another question, Darian Samesh shoots. My apologies if I'm butchering your nicknames, dear friends. There are rumors it was a sonic weapon. Folks were left bleeding from their ears and noise and confused, disoriented on the ground. I know. Theoretically speaking, there were such works, by the way, to come up with their sonic weapons, right? Soviet Union actually had a plan to build a plane, believe it or not, massive plane that would damage their hostile side, not by launching missiles or the bombs, but just flying over, right? And the accent was exactly on the sound. This plane was so freaking noisy, or supposed to be so noisy that alone would cause all the issues that you mentioned in your comment. But I don't think either US or Russia nowadays have sonic weapons of such a scale. There are some weaponry that is based on radio waves, right? Radiation that are quite often used or deployed in different parts of the world during the riots, because there are certain waves that we cannot hear. We cannot understand that we can hear this, but our brains are actually detecting it, and these certain waves are influencing humans in extremely negative ways, right? Suppressing humans. Some of their such wave weapons are actually so powerful that they are causing burn feeling that they are burning under the influence of these systems. But I don't think US used their sonic weapon or anything like that in Venezuela. It's clear, dear friends. We don't have to. Sometimes this Akama Razor or whatever it is actually works perfectly well. There is no need to search for some complicated or super pooper complex explanations. Everything is on surface, by the way. It was a clearly trade-off, right? Trade-off. Venezuela has numerous air defense units. After all, Venezuelan government itself was saying that they deployed not just air defense systems, but not just medium and long range air defense systems, but 5,000 manpads, by the way, 5,000 manpads, Stinger type of short range air defense missiles, guided air defense missiles of Soviet/Russian production, right? Strela, Igla, and so on. Werber, for example. And these are very capable missiles, by the way. In a range of 3 to 5, some of them 7 kilometers, they can definitely shut down anything, literally any plane or the helicopter. Did you see any of these weapons being used during this operation that US militaries come up with? No, none of it was used. Helicopters, I mean, there are so many videos of helicopters flying and nobody is shooting at them. What the hell, man? You know, such a lack of air defense operation can be explained only by order from high authorities to stand down. That's it, by the way, right? Only, okay, one might say, well, the US launched so many missiles and bombs and destroyed these air defense systems, medium and long-range air defense systems, or the radars or whatever. Okay, let's believe in that. Oh, this is not true, but let's say, okay, I take that argument. Some of their air defense systems were destroyed actually, but some didn't, right? But what about these 5,000 manpads? How come that nobody launched it to shut down these helicopters, man? What about this? Or you're gonna tell me that all 5,000 military personnel that was equipped with these manpads were killed? No, casualty rate is about 100 people, right? 32 Cubans, few Venezuelan militaries, and the rest is civilians. So where these manpads went? So it was a clearly trade-off, by the way, done mainly between Washington and Beijing. Maybe Moscow was informed about it. Maybe Moscow was informed about it, maybe not, I don't know, but possibly was informed about it. But yeah, it was a trade-off. And I think, I'm quite sure Maduro himself was a part of this trade-off. He agreed on this stuff. His government agreed on this stuff, right? And just mark my word, it will not take long before Maduro is exchanged, right? A year, maybe 2 years, that's max he will spend in American custody, in a quite comfortable cell, I guess, right? And he's gonna be exchanged and live his freaking rich life somewhere, I don't know, in China. I hope not in Russia, by the way. I hope he's not gonna be, he's not gonna end up in Russia. But there is plenty of places in this world, right, where he can disappear. It was a trade-off and a big mistake. I can tell you, it was a massive mistake on part of Beijing if they actually believed Washington that, well, if they will withdraw or will not oppose US in the Western Hemisphere, then Washington will do the same in the Chinese immediate neighborhood. No, man, Washington not gonna do shit. Let's be real here, man. In terms of honoring this agreement that most likely was reached between China and US. That's all. We don't need to look for some super complex like explanations that these weapons were used and that's how US man. No, they had a green light. US Navy SEALs or whoever was, Delta Force, or whichever units were engaged in this terrorist activity, they had a green light, right? Probably they knew that Cuban security detail of Maduro will offer resistance. So they were ready to deal with the Cubans. They know perfectly well Venezuelan military is not going to shoot at them, and they didn't. It's a freaking freak show. That's what they did. And while orchestrating and conducting this, implementing this freak show, they killed their dozens and dozens of civilians. That's it, really. Oh, interesting comment from Svetlana Vladimirova. There are rumors flying here now in Russia that we have seized 12 Western tankers in the North Sea. Rumors are thicker and they're fast in wartime. It may or may not be true. I have not heard anything about it. I was monitoring the media, Russian segment of internet included, whole day, as I do always, by the way. And I did not come across this rumor, but I don't know. Could be true. Svetlana Vladimir, could be true, could be not. I also don't have anything to add to this comment, but no one should be surprised if Russia will take such a step, because how else you gonna deter Western ruling class from hijacking more and more vessels under the Russian flag or under the flag of whichever country, but ones that are coming into Russian ports or leaving the Russian ports. Something definitely has to be done to deter this criminal terrorist behavior, Western ruling class, for sure. Let's scroll. What? The one where's comment section? What do you mean? I mean, on another notebook, I have a stream opened, and there's comment section, by the way, on YouTube. I don't know, maybe you're experiencing some technical issues with the YouTube, but comment section is there. So let me check Rumble here, friends. Maybe there was a, and there it is, by the way, super chat from Scooby. Let me highlight this super chat, and then I will rejoin main chat. I remind you, dear friends, that this is a fundraising stream, and if you find my work whole week interesting, informative, useful, and if you think my channels deserve to exist, then please consider to support. You can do it through several means. You can donate with a super chat on Rumble. It's called the Rant, by the way, on Rumble, right? You can also use PayPal or Boosty, by the way, to send a question. If you want to send a commenter and simultaneously donate, or donate without any questions or the comments. It's all up to you, of course. Let me highlight, dear friends. Let me highlight this super chat around from Scooby. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat on Rumble and the $10 donation. And the comment from Scooby is Russia rising taxes because the war economy is forcing a move to fiscal dominance now that monetary policy has reached their limits? Well, definitely, special military operation is one of the reasons. I think personally, government explanation might be different, but I personally think that one of the reasons why some taxes have been increased is a special military operation, which is extremely expensive. We all understand that. But I think this could be, first of all, let's say that taxes is not increasing like on extreme levels, right? I can understand that Western propaganda will turn around everything, and they will say that, well, Moscow is now taxing everyone and everything are 100% or something. No, there are certain increases in taxes, by the way, couple of percentages here and there, nothing extraordinary, but I think this is done to deal with the budget deficit that we have, which is over 1 trillion rubles, by the way. So it's a relatively big deficit, could be up to 2 trillion, right? And increased taxes will definitely help to deal with this deficit. Government will have no reason to borrow more than it has to. But same time, I will say that generally speaking, economy here in Russia is still doing quite okay, by the way, and increasing taxes in some weird ways actually also demonstrating that too, because you're not going to tax something that is not exists, right? You can tax only something that works, actually makes profits, and you may tax that profit. And yes, economy is still doing okay, and the Russian economy, despite all their hardships, by the way, due to Western tens of thousands of Western sanctions, is still growing. It's still growing, by the way, in many ways faster than leading Western economies, right? That some of the Western economies are in a recession. Let's not forget about that, right? So yes, sir, slight increase in the taxes, definitely, in my personal opinion, are related to budget deficit, related to expenses on a special military operation. But here in Russia, by the way, I have not seen literally nobody that I know. I mean, among people that I know, on internet, by the way, also, I'm active on internet, right? I have not seen much whine about increased taxes. I really don't. So it's not really that big of a deal, although I can understand Western propaganda can turn this topic around in such ways that you might think, well, Moscow is left without any money whatsoever, and they are now increasing taxes. No, man, it's just a forced measure, obviously, possibly temporary measure, but after all, we are engaged in a high level of high intensity conflict with NATO, right? With the collective West, which is dozens of countries, by the way. And obviously, we have to do whatever is necessary to be victorious in this war. And we are victorious, and we will be victorious, right? And if we have to pay a little more taxes, so be it. That's how it is. And on the topic of budget deficit, well, this budget deficit, by the way, in some ways, and yet again, I'm not a financial expert or the expert in fiscal policies and stuff, but I'm quite sure in some ways this budget deficit that we have, that needs to be dealt with and will be dealt, somewhat related to this strong Russian ruble, by the way, that is harming Russian economy, actually, instead of helping, right? And Russian ruble is getting stronger, which is, well, not good, not really good. If exchange rate, right? And Russia is an export-oriented economy, dear friends, right? And just imagine, simple mathematics, major Russian majors in different sectors, right? They are making billions and billions and billions, right? Dozens of billions selling their goods and services outside of Russia. And they are paying taxes here in Russia, right? So to pay taxes, they have to pay it with the rubles. And well, let's say hypothetically, if exchange rate is 100 ruble for a dollar, and if one company has to pay $1 taxes or 100 ruble taxes, right? Then it only has to, it will convert $1 and will get 100 ruble taxes. But if exchange rate is $200 ruble for a dollar, then these companies will make this exchange. They will pay 100 ruble for taxes, and maybe they will invest another 100 in local economy. You see how big of a difference this exchange rate is, actually. on the ground, how big of a difference it can do. And that's why many experts here in Russia that I have heard, read articles and stuff are saying that ideally exchange rate is supposed to be 130, 120, 130, right? Or even higher rubles for a dollar. And in that case, by the way, in that case, federal budget will receive more money. There might not be even a freaking deficit to deal with. But I don't know. I don't know why economical bloc is this reluctant to weaken the ruble. And they have to. And you might say, you know what, strong ruble means, stability in terms of prices. They're not really. Not really, by the way. This is not the way this wilder capitalism works, man. When last year that was, isn't it, or year before, at some point exchange rate actually was 110 rubles for a dollar, and you think what businesses did? These capitalists, by the way, they increased prices on freaking everything, right? And you think when ruble becomes stronger, and in 2025 ruble was, according to reports, strongest currency, you think those businesses dropped the prices? No, they didn't. They didn't. Right? Maybe there was some some instances here and there when prices come down actually, but generally speaking, they maintain high prices, even though ruble become tremendously stronger compared to 110 for a dollar, right? So I don't know, man. I don't know. We can deal with this situation. We have to weaken the ruble, right? Government has enough tools in its hands to make sure that this wild capital is not going to go crazy, right? And not going to manipulate with the prices too much. If anyone tries, just deal with them, man. Deal with them harshly, right? That's why we need states. That's why we need governments to make sure that society stays safe in every possible sense, right? So there is a ways to deal with the situation, but yeah. Tell this to Russian central banker, boss, Nabiulina. Tell this to Russian economical bloc, by the way. I mean, they are hesitant to do anything to weaken the Russian ruble. Interest rate is still 16%, right? They are in their pursuit to cool down economy, and Russian economy was overheating, by the way, right? Even though in the West there was expectations that Russian economy will freaking collapse due to these Western sanctions, in reality what happened is that the economy start working even in a higher speed, right, than before. It start overheat, which is also creates some dangers, right? And this probably scared economical bloc so much so that they start cooling down this economy big way. Interest rates went up to 21, 22 point at some point from central bank. That was a clear message to commercial banks to hold on to credit in the economy. And right now, by the way, I personally find it very difficult to get a loan from a bank. I tried twice, right? And I was refused. So it is extremely difficult to get a loan now here in Russia, even though loans are very expensive. But if you have to take it and you are ready to pay high interest, still you might not get it because, yet again, banks are not giving the loans. This is all the policies in terms of cooling down economy. And I think Russian economical bloc just overdid it, right? They're going to freaking freeze the economy. That's what they're going to do eventually, right? And they might trigger freaking recession if they continue this way. Yet again, my personal opinion, I'm not freaking economical expert or something, but I have seen enough shit in this life, right, to know how things work. So they might actually trigger recession of Russian economy even this year already, while there was no need for that. Sometimes I'm beginning to think that maybe some sort of a freaking sabotage is happening, right? By fifth column of the West that is possibly active in Russia. I don't know, man. You are correct, Scooby, that taxes are rising. You are correct that this is connected with their economical situation, obviously. It's also connected, obviously, with the special military operation, which is understandably so quite expensive, right, to maintain, and we can deal with it, right? We can deal with it, but yet again, it's all up to economical bloc. I have here, I'm seeing more and more, or louder and louder voices, by the way, that are very critical of economical bloc. I mean, Nabiullina was never really that popular here in Russia. I believe I strongly believe that she's one of the best experts in the field, right? And I think she is a good head of central bank. Even though I am somewhat critical of the policies of the central bank and economical bloc, but I cannot take away her high level of professionalism. She's a very conservative. That's the issue we have. That she is a very conservative, and maybe during the war times there is no need to be this conservative, right? Because after all, we are in a war with the freaking NATO, man, right? So it's a big deal, by the way. Definitely, budget deficit, increased taxes and stuff. But generally speaking, we are still doing okay, man. We are still doing okay. And if you came to Russia, not just in Moscow, by the way, because some might argue, well, Moscow is a different world, right? Okay, go to Vladikavkaz, by the way, capital of North Ossetia, Alania, 2,000 kilometers away from Moscow, right? Go there, and you will see people are living their lives and are happy and they're doing their thing, right? So we are doing okay, generally speaking. Although obviously, time to time, we are, especially ordinary people, by the way, we are facing some hardships that we have to deal with. But this is life, isn't it? No one tell us, unlike a significant part of Western public, by the way, that thinks they have right on it for everything, and everyone owns them something. Oh, we are not built like that. We are a bit different in this regard. Our mentality is different, and we have say. No one tell us that life is sugar, right? Because life is not. And overcoming hardships, it's a part of life, right? And hardship is not scaring us, man. No. We went through 90s, man. Compared to 90s, modern Russia is a paradise, man. That's how hard those 90s were, and probably we have heard this topic of 90s quite a lot, isn't it? It was a hard times, man. Dangerous times, not just hard times, but it was freaking dangerous, man. Crazy times. So thank you very much, Scooby, for your comment, and also thank you very much, Scooby, for your gift of a premium subscription on Rumble. It's a donation too. It's a $5 donation. So overall, you already donated $15 to this project. So thank you very much, Scooby, for being very supportive. Thank you. And let's continue our conversation, dear friends. I will scroll now. I have a new segment prepared for you, dear friends. So in a minute, I will go through some of the news, and then let's continue conversation. Time to time, I'm going to check, of course, Boosty platform. If there will be any questions or the support from Boosty, I will, of course, react on it. Let me see. Right now, nothing from Boosty, and Anna, my wife, is at work, so when she will have time, she will check PayPal if there is any support from there, and the question or the comment. But meanwhile, let's scroll, by the way. Wagner Garcia is commenting, Levon, the entire S-500 program is ready and active right now. We have 2 million troops ready. Russian weapons are uncontested. Do you think the EU will take a step forward? Wagner Garcia, I'm not quite sure what are you referring to? If you mean if Europe will attack Russia, they will, by the way. They are attacking Russia anyways, right? And S-500 here in Russia is definitely deployed. I believe even modernized, further modernized version, modification of S-500 is deployed. And for members of our community who may hear S-500 first time, this is an air defense systems, most advanced air defense system ever built by humanity. It's a Russian air defense system that is capable of intercepting literally all type of weapons, including hypersonic weapons and their space installations, orbital installations, that is satellites and so on, right? It can deal with their hypersonic weapons, which is also unique stuff. No other air defense system actually can deal with the hypersonics, right? By chance, maybe some of them sometimes will hit hypersonic, right? But it's not gonna be regular stuff, right? S-500 can do it as it can intercept any subsonic or supersonic target, right? So S-500 is definitely deployed there. We have 2 million troops. I mean, we do have even more than 2 million people. I mean, you mean Russia, right? Us. So actually, under the arms, we might have, and we definitely have more than 2 million people, by the way, if you count everybody. But Russian armed forces are no more than 1.5 million, I believe, right now. About 700,000 is deployed there in the zone of special military operation. Several hundred thousand are conscripts that not going to be deployed there in the zone of special military operation. Rest is just a reserve, right? We have also, of course, Rosguardia that also has a quite significant number of personnel, and all these special units, by the way, that many members of community have heard, Akhmat Special Forces and others. These are units of Rosguardia. These are not units of armed forces. This is Rosguardia. Rosguardia as National Guard in the US, for example. There is different. Rosguardia before used to be internal troops that used to be a part of Ministry of Internal Affairs. So after some transformations, now we have Rosguardia, right, which also has numerous units, numerous formations. Recently in the Russian Duma, even there was a talks about changes in the law so that Rosguardia will be able to obtain heavy military equipment, including tanks and so on, as it was during I believe, during the Soviet Union. Internal forces did have it was a separate army, basically, right? I think changes have been done in this regard, and now Rosguardia is like another army, really. So, and we have police forces, right? Police, special forces of Ministry of Internal Affairs. Overall, numerically, we have more than 2 million people under the arms right now, maybe 3 million people, right? If you count everybody. And we have a tremendous reserve. Right? If it's necessary and full-scale mobilization will take place, and I always say whenever topic of mobilization comes in, I'm ready to go first, by the way, no questions. During the mobilization, full-scale mobilization, probably demands for health will be little lesser than it is right now. If you want to sign a contract, you have to be healthy, by the way, right? And I'm afraid I would not be able to pass exams, but during the full-scale mobilization, probably doctors will say, okay, you're good, go. So, we can mobilize 3 to 5 million people like that, easy, right? Some will whine about, of course, but majority will understand that this is existential conflict that we are engaged in, right? This is existential, and it's better us, our generations, to fight this fight, right, than to leave this fight to our kids and their kids. So we have to neutralize this evil force that Western ruling class is, one way or another. And society here in Russia is united and ready, right? So we are good. And if you are in other part of your question, will EU make a move? They will. They will, by the way, because they are desperate. Western ruling class understands perfectly well that if they are forced to capitulate, if they are forced to acknowledge that Russia has won, then well, it will take maybe 2-3 decades and max, and Western ruling class will become either loosely relevant or completely irrelevant force. It would not be even a force at that point, right? As it is the case in regards to, let's say, some of the Latin American countries. Do you think they are force on a geopolitical scale? Even entire Latin America combined, is it a like major force in the geopolitics? With all due respect, but let's be real here. No, Latin America is divided. There is very little unity there, right? It's not a force that can dictate anything on a global scale. So that's what is waiting for European elites, by the way. That's their destiny, unavoidable in my personal opinion, and they know it, and that's why they are this desperate, and they will push. They will push as much as they can to provoke direct clashes with Russia, with the European NATO member states and Russia, and then to provoke US to get engaged, because we can say anything we want about Western ruling class or European ruling class, but they are not that stupid not to understand that without US assistance, Russia will obliterate their forces very fast, right? They have no chances. So they want US to be part of it, right? And that's why in whichever plans these globalists are cooking, there is always point that US has to provide security guarantees for a key regime. US have to do this. US have to do that. US have to deploy troops. That's why they're constantly dancing around US and American involvement, right? That's why they are pushing this crazy narrative of ceasefire. And and the idea is simple. They are not. They might not be completely stupid, but they are not really that clever, and their actions are easily readable, right? Their plans are easily readable, And one of the directions that they are moving is to, yes, somehow achieve a temporary ceasefire, rearm, reorganize themselves, then their proxy key regimes, armed forces at some point, and meanwhile, on the legislative level, force number of Western countries, including US, to guarantee security to a key regime, that if anything happens again, they will get engaged militarily, right? And once this is achieved, if they will manage to achieve this, then, well, you tell me how long it will take for Western ruling class to provoke next round of the confrontation, come up with false flag operations and stuff like that, force Russia to react, and then we are in a full-scale war, right? Because their plan is that these security guarantees for the regime has to be legally bounded, right? So it's a US Congress, British Parliament, French Parliament, German Parliament, all those lawmakers have to vote for that, right? And basically take on their countries this obligation. So yes, they will, by the way. War is inevitable, absolutely inevitable. Only question I have is where US gonna be, right? If US will also engaged in this war against Russia, then there is high chances that we will see or may not even be able to see or realize at least that extinction level event is happening on this planet, which means a full-scale nuclear war, obviously. Some of us that are lucky will die instantly if it comes to actually full-scale nuclear war. Lesser lucky ones will beg for mercy and their death. That's how horrifying and terrifying life after nuclear war gonna be for a few survivors, right? And eventually they will die too, right? So yes, if US is engaged, we are talking about full-scale nuclear war, most likely. If US is not engaged there, we will teach the Europeans lesson once again. That's how it's gonna be, brother. With US, it's an extinction level event. Without US, European elites, by the way, let's be clear here. I have no issues with the European societies. I feel sorry that many of them are Russophobic and stuff, but still, I don't see them as enemies, ordinary people. But when it comes to Western elites, well, we're going to teach them the lesson, historical lesson, as it was done by our ancestors time after time after time. So yes, we should be ready, by the way, right? Here in Russia, we should definitely be ready for a large scale war. It's going to be another great patriotic war, something like that, man. It seems absolutely inevitable to me personally. And if anyone thinks that no, this is exaggeration and stuff, I hope those people are right, man. I really hope. But I really don't have much optimism in this regards. And dear friends, let me go through what you think. Should I go through новости, dear friends, news? Now, let me give you first block of the news, and then let's continue our conversation. This is big community chat, isn't it? So I don't know how long it will last. 2 hours, 3 hours. Sometimes it's 4 hours, but it's a community chat, by the way. That's what I signed up for, and I love this exchange of opinions, by the way. I really love this program, community chat. It's tiring when it's like 2, 3, 4 hours. You might get tired, of course, but it's great to be engaged in a chat with so many people and from all around the world, right? And now, dear friends, let me go through some of the news, if I may. As I said, I have prepared a new segment for you, and well, of course, I have to share with you this report that as a result of yet another terrorist attack of Kyiv regime and its NATO backers, civilian died in Voronezh. Medics tried to save the life of the younger woman that suffered injuries after a long-range drone strike that NATO and their proxy Kyiv regime launched towards the Voronezh, and it was a quite large-scale drone attack, by the way, maybe biggest drone attack Voronezh ever experienced. And unfortunately, a resident of Voronezh injured during this attack, died in a hospital. Regional governor Alexander Gusev announced this on a telegram. He also wrote that a younger woman, and this is quote, a young woman died in intensive care. Doctors performed surgery and fight for her life, but the injuries were too severe. He noted that this attack by the Ukrainian armed forces was one of the strongest since the beginning of the special military operation. And reports are, by the way, that 10 high-rise apartment buildings were struck with the drones. I can show you some videos. You know what? When one drone strikes civilian infrastructure, high-rise apartment buildings, or something else, 1 from 10, let's say, it's everyone understands that this is not intentional. That something happened with the drone, right? Either air defense systems influenced its trajectory, or maybe there was some mechanical failure in the drone. But when 10 high-rise apartment buildings are struck, hardly this is unintentional, right? And reports are that 10 civilian buildings were struck in Voronezh, by the way. And that tells me that this was a clear terror attack on Voronezh, terror campaign. Some of the channels, by the way, while commenting on the matter, said that, well, Kyiv regime was targeting military infrastructure in Voronezh region. Seriously? How you can say that, for God's sake? When 10 civilian buildings were targeted, how you can say that Kyiv regime was intending to strike military infrastructure? What the hell? Another wounded resident of Voronezh is in intensive care. Hopefully, medics will manage to save their life. And let me show you a video, by the way. There is videos of these strikes. This is one video, for example. You see, drone struck residential building directly. Let's see it again. Just if you missed it. Look. You see how this is unintentional. But yet again, if it was a one drone, okay, one might argue it's some sort of error. Two drones, okay, some might still say it was error, but 10 civilian buildings were struck and targeted. It's a terror. It's a terror attack on the civilians, right? And this is clearly, by the way, a British footprint, isn't it? That's what British elites do, man. These terror campaigns are British military and intelligence services trademark, one might say, right? You all remember, and this is not just like recent event, the development in strategy of their UK's military or intelligence. This is historically like that. Just remember Second World War, what British bombers were doing to innocent German people. They were erasing entire settlements, burning down entire settlements that they know did not host no freaking military installations whatsoever. And the explanation that the British ruling class was coming was that, well, they have to, in order to defeat the enemy, they have to terrorize the public. That's what their freaking explanation. And they were saying that, well, the civilians are working in these factories anyways. Really? Really? Even in the towns and the villages, that there is no freaking military installation where these people can go and do some, create some bombs or stuff. So this is London, by the way. This strategy, this terror campaign is clearly London. It's MI6 and British militaries, right? Obviously, CIA is involved. Americans always are involved, right? But leading part is being played by London in this terror campaign against Russia. It's just that clear, right? And I have no doubts. Kremlin knows perfectly well who is involved, and I'm quite sure some plans are in place to retaliate one day, right? To retaliate one day and to make sure that these criminals and the terrorists and the mass murderers in the British ruling class will pay the price. I have no freaking idea what this retaliation gonna be, how it will look, or what will happen. No, that I have no idea. But if anybody thinks that Russia will just simply forget and forgive all this terrorist activity of the NATO countries, US, UK, France, others, oh, they are very mistaken, man. It might take time. It might take time, but revenge is coming. Revenge is coming, man. No one gonna forget and forgive nothing, right? And after all, revenge is a cold dish that needs to be served. Revenge is a special dish that needs to be served cold, right? That's how one say goes. This is another video, by the way. Another civilian apartment building struck. So there are plenty of videos. Look. This is Voronezh too. Let's start from beginning. It's another high-rise apartment building that was hit by drone. And plenty of videos and photos are on internet. I just copied these two videos, right? So unfortunately, there was a tragedy in Voronezh. Young woman died there as a result of this terrorist attack of UK and Ukraine, NATO basically, and a number of others were wounded, and one of the injured persons are in intensive care, and the doctors fighting to save the life of that person. Also, TASS news agency is reporting that Russian armed forces liberated their Belogorye settlement in the Zaporozhye region. And this is a very interesting development, dear friends, because this Belogorye settlement is located on the southern eastern side of Orekhov, almost in between Gulyai-Polye and Orekhov. And when I saw this report, and this is a Belogorye area, by the way, on the eastern side of Malaya Takmachka, and when I see this report, first thing that came to my mind was that probably Russian military is gonna further intensify offensive operations in the from Belogorye area northwards, right? And simultaneously, most likely, we will see further offensive operations of the Russian troops from the eastern side, right? From Zelyona settlement area, for example, that was liberated in past 48 hours, let's say, and other settlements. And if you take a look at the map, well, it will become clear why one should expect further advances of the Russian armed forces or focus on the Russian armed forces in this square here, because once this area is under Russian control, then Orekhov, by the way, will be in basically operational encirclement, because Russian troops right now are advancing and improving positions, let's say. Major battle for Orekhov have not yet started, but Russian troops are preparing ground on the southern side also of Orekhov. I think it's a matter of, I don't know, maybe a week or two, and eventually Novoandreevka have to be or will be liberated by Russian troops. Settlement on the southern western side of Orekhov, and Russian troops are closing into Orekhov, by the way, and Yurkovka settlements, which is on the northern western side of Orekhov, from west, from Stepnogorsk area, by the way. And already reports are coming in that Lukyanovskaya settlement is under Russian control. So it's going to be pincer movement, I think. It's going to be pincer movement, right, towards Orekhov. And, who knows, maybe Kiev regime's forces will withdraw from Orekhov before Russian militaries will link those pincers. Well, might be the case. Initiative obviously is in Russian hands, by the way, all along the front line, including Zaporozhye region. Yesterday, that was, isn't it? I reported about liberation of Zelyona in the very same sector of Zaporozhye, although on the eastern flank of it. Also, Russian troops are about to finalize clearing operation in Volnaya settlement. While map is open, let me go through some of the sectors. Volnaya is Dnipropetrovsk region, of course, and look at the Dnipropetrovsk region difference. This red line is a border of Dnipropetrovsk region with Zaporozhye and DPR, and look how massive Russian bridgehead is already in Dnipropetrovsk region. And I have said many times before that when order comes to Russian troops to launch sectoral scale offensive in Dnipropetrovsk region, let's say first towards Pavlograd, second biggest, I believe, city in the region, and then towards Dnipropetrovsk itself, Russian troops going to advance much more rapidly than we have seen in either LPR or DPR or Kherson and Zaporozhye regions, right? Because Dnipropetrovsk region is mainly steppe area, by the way. Not that densely populated as it is the case in the DPR, for example. Much fewer defense lines or the strongholds of the Kiev regime. So I think Russian troops will liberate Dnipropetrovsk region like in 10 times less time than it took for DPR, for example. And DPR is still being liberated, by the way. Russian troops are further activating operations on the most northern side of their DPR, and reports are coming in that, for example, Novovasilievka settlement has been liberated on the northwestern side of Liman. And if you take a look at the icons, every single icon, by the way, is advance of the Russian armed forces, certain operations conducted in this area. And well, it is clear that it will not take too long before this northern corner of DPR is under complete Russian control and fully liberated by Russian forces. Also, Russian advance is further accelerating in Liman direction. Russian troops are entering Liman itself, by the way, last major stronghold of the Kiev regime in the northern part of the DPR. Russian troops are entering from three directions, Liman itself now, from the southern, eastern, and the northern directions. And soon, when Russian troops will finalize their offensive, let's say in Svyatogorsk direction, Drobisheva direction, I think Russian troops will finalize full encirclement of the Liman, which is basically an operational encirclement already. Because terrain, take a look at the terrain, by the way. From southern, western side, Liman is cut off from rest of the territory that Kiev regime still controls by tremendous forestry, difficult terrain, rivers, lakes, and so on, right? So once Russian troops will finalize their offensive on the northern-western side of Liman, city is in operational encirclement. Some might argue this is the case already, right? And also tremendous activity of the Russian forces in Konstantinovka direction. Seems like Russian troops are about to finalize clearing operation of all the settlements. All settlements on the southern side of Konstantinovka, including Berestok village. According to reports, Russian troops already are inside the Berestok village and they're conducting clearing operation there. Not just Berestok, but Russian troops have been spotted in Ilinovka settlement, which is basically outskirt, not just outskirt, but it's part of a city, by the way. It's linked with the city. You see, this is Konstantinovka and this is Ivanovka. It's like one of the districts of the city. And Russian troops already conducting operations inside Konstantinovka, of course, from southeastern part. Russian troops entered this city for quite a while ago, actually. And I guess this is it for a short summary. You see this old notebook, by the way, that I start using because on another one there was some technical issues, isn't it? Screen was freezing and stuff. And this old notebook is actually, even though it has its own issues with sound being one of them, and probably you have already noticed that, but it's more powerful. It's an older notebook, but still more powerful than this relatively new one that failed. I am able now to operate with the map freely, and map is a quite heavy stuff. Anyways, let's continue with a couple of more news and then chat again. Militants from the two Ukrainian Armed Forces brigades are refusing to comply with the orders from their command, according to RIA Novosti. Let's go through some details here. So soldiers from their 158th and 119th brigades of the Ukrainian Armed Forces are refusing to obey orders from their command due to their prolonged presence on the front lines without rotation. Russian security forces told the RIA Novosti, and well, this is a good news, by the way. Definitely some sort of a mutiny in these two brigades. Okay, and there are also, it is worth noting that Kiev regime's forces, one of the reasons why Kiev regime's forces are losing battle capability is, of course, absence of rotations, right? Many troops of Kiev regime, especially ones that have been forcefully mobilized, don't want to be on line of contact anyways, right, in the first place. So they are not really that battle capable. Whenever they will have opportunity to safely surrender, they will take that opportunity for sure. And very many of them are running away from the line of contact or the zero line in the first opportunity. But there are some others that are afraid to either surrender or to run away, and are basically, I guess, thinking that they have to fight. This is the only opportunity they have to sort of save their lives, which is a mistaken take. This is error in the judgment on their part. But nevertheless, those people, by the way, have not been replaced on a line of contact for, in many cases, for many, many months. And you can imagine psychological state of these troops, exhaustion, psychological exhaustion of these troops, right? When every single second, every minute, every hour, every day might be your last, and you are dealing with this pressure, psychological pressure constantly, right? And you have not been replaced for a month, 2, 3. Some units are not being replaced for 5 months, by the way, right? Some even a year, at least that's the reports that coming from Kiev control territory, actually, right? Some units have not been redeployed from a line of contact since their arrival. All is happening is that they are receiving more and more troops to replace ones that being killed and wounded. And whoever is surviving, they are staying in line of contact, right? And when this kind of units eventually will end up in Russian hands, and when you see videos, by the way, you can understand why the troops of Kiev regime are looking in a way they look, right? Some of them have a beard like until, I don't know, man, right? Like that. They never had the opportunity to take care of themselves, you know. And you can see in their eyes, by the way, that they are dead, and they're psychologically dead, right? So, and of course, such troops are not really ones that are capable of much, isn't it? So, no surprises that 2 more brigades of Kiev regime are experiencing some sort of a mutiny. Okay. TASS news agency is also reporting that, well, according to Foreign Minister of Hungary, Peter Szijjártó, Britain and France are risking provoking war with Russia, and he's correct, of course. Szijjártó is correct, although I will add that they are not just risking, they want to provoke this war and to bring in US. Globalist control regimes in Europe, including UK and France, they want to provoke direct clashes with Russia. And they would provoke these direct clashes with Russia already if they had the guarantees that US gonna support this. But for now, it seems like there is certain tensions among internal tensions among European elites and American elites, right? And as far as I can tell, American elites not that keen, right, to be directly engaged in a war with Russia because they don't want to die. They know perfectly well that if US is engaged, then that conflict might very quickly spiral out of control and then trigger extinction level event, full-scale nuclear war. And maybe this is one of the reasons why American ruling class, that is also insane, as is the case in Europe, but nonetheless, that's why they want to stay away, it seems like. And this is the only reason that globalists were not able to trigger direct open clashes between NATO and Russia yet. But eventually they will, by the way. They will sacrifice Baltic states, they will sacrifice Finland, they will sacrifice Poland. Most likely, by the way, that's the countries that they're going to sacrifice next. I think so, right? We will find out. But Szijjártó definitely is correct there while pointing out insanity of the leadership of UK and France. So Britain and France, 2 European nuclear powers, are preparing to continue the conflict in Ukraine and risk provoking war with Russia. This warning was issued by Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó, commenting on London and Paris's intention to send their troops to Ukrainian territory. Yeah, Hungary is on top. And also, one of the reasons why maybe globalists are hesitant, and the leading force among globalists is, of course, British ruling class, right? One of the reasons why they are a little hesitant to provoke full-scale war with Russia is one is the US, right? US stand, and another is that there is no unity inside Europe, isn't it? Because there are a number of countries, even elites in those countries, globalist control elites, by the way, that cannot propagandize enough, cannot indoctrinate enough their own populations into this war idea, right? Into this war propaganda. And they have no support of public, so they cannot push for a war. And there are also states, NATO member states like Hungary, for example, and Slovakia, that don't even want to talk about deploying any troops against Russia, deploying or being engaged in any hostility against Russia. Their position is very clear. So right now, when it comes to, at least on a statement level, when it comes to countries in Europe that are actually willing to be engaged in a war with Russia, it's well, Baltic Chihuahuas, no surprises there, right? They don't really have a say, by the way. They will say whatever Brussels will decide or London will decide, to be more precise. I have heard that, Finland, yes, being indoctrinated, and people in Finland, unfortunately, been indoctrinated big time in Russia hate and war propaganda against Russia. So, yeah, Finland might be on the board, although Stab, this extreme Russia hater, descendant of a Nazi, son or the grandson of the Finnish Nazi and fascist creature, even though he's demonstrating his Russia hater every time he gets opportunity to speak to media. Seems like Helsinki, on official level, did not yet made up its mind on the topic of deployment of its troops, right? But same time, by the way, we should keep in mind that there was a lot of exercises, right? NATO exercises in Finland, not far away from Russian border, right? And clearly, I know Russian leadership knows, because Medvedev at one point went to border with Finland and made quite interesting statements. We all know, by the way, that one of the directions that European NATO member states will attack Russia is Finland, from Finland, right? So we are monitoring, we are ready, right? Finland, as I said, the Baltic Chihuahuas, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland. That's the main big countries from where that are going to be sacrificed by the globalists after Ukraine, of course. And well, we are ready. We are ready, by the way. We can deal with all of them, right? But interestingly enough, neither Helsinki, neither Warsaw, by the way, has expressed their willingness to deploy their troops openly. According to U.S. Colonel McGregor, Poland lost more than 10,000 troops already in Ukraine, right? And he probably knows what he's talking about. He said that on several occasions that Poland already lost more than 10,000 of its troops, disguised as mercenaries, but nevertheless, right? But despite this intense Russophobia in Poland, Warsaw did not yet make statement that they are willing to be directly engaged in a war with Russia, deploy their troops, and so on. And deployment of troops means direct war with Russia. We all know that, isn't it? Moscow was very clear. Deployment of any troops from NATO on a Kyiv-controlled territory will be considered as an involvement of this country in hostilities, and Russia will consider them to be a legit target. So deployment of NATO troops is a kind of declaration of war for Russia, right? And Moscow is very clear on that. So I guess Polish elites understand that globalists want to sacrifice them, right? To sacrifice their country, and they're kind of cautious, little bit, right? Finland is the same. When it comes to Baltic Chihuahuas, well, their elites there is so insane, by the way, that anything to be expected, right? And probably first provocations, direct provocations, we will see from Baltic Chihuahuas, from either from Lithuania or from Estonia, by the way. So first clashes, direct clashes between Russian and the NATO troops to be expected somewhere there. Lithuania, Estonia, Finland, potentially, yes, but it will start either in Lithuania or Estonia. From there, I think. I don't know. We will find out, man. But Siarto is on topic there definitely. Siarto is on topic for sure. What else for this blocker? Macron faces pushback against Ukraine deployment plan, according to Le Monde. So President of France, Emmanuel Macron, has briefed France's main political forces on the plans to send troops to Ukraine after a potential ceasefire, but has run into opposition from across the political spectrum, Le Monde reported on Friday. Several parties reportedly insisted that any deployment must be endorsed by the United Nations, something which is unlikely to happen due to Russia's opposition to the plan and its UN Security Council veto. According to Le Monde, Macron on Thursday held a 3 hour gathering of around 30 participants, including leaders from Marine Le Pen's right-wing National Rally and left-wing La France Insoumise. Macron's team reportedly shared confidential details on the French contribution to the troop deployment with La France Insoumise leader Mathilde Panot, telling Le Monde that Paris could send as many as 6,000 troops. During their briefing, General Fabien Mandon reportedly told the participants that the French troops would act not as a stabilizing contingent, but rather as a reassurance force far from the front. Yeah, they're gonna say, oh, far from the front and this and that, and eventually they will go back to France in a body bags, right? Because Moscow was very clear: no matter how you disguise your troops, we will see any on the controlled on territory of this former Soviet Republic, Ukraine, and we're gonna take care of them. Moscow is very clear on that, right? But nevertheless, I was asked even by a member of community, isn't it, that will Europe make a move, and unfortunately they're gonna do it. Seems like yeah, Western ruling class or European ruling class will go ahead with their direct clashes with Russia. It might not happen if Russia will force them to capitulate earlier, right? But to force them to capitulate, certain steps have to be made that I don't think Moscow will authorize. And I guess we'll understand what I mean by this, isn't it? I said quite a few times before, it's only a matter of 30 minutes, literally, by the way, no exaggerations, no nothing. It's a matter of 30 minutes, and neither France, neither UK have any nuclear weapons, no more, right? None of them have nuclear weapons, so it's only a matter of 30 minutes to 1 hour, and neither of these countries will have a more or less battle-capable military. They don't really have battle-capable military, generally speaking, but 30 minutes to 1 hour, and whatever is there will be neutralized in major terms, right? So overall, 60 minutes, and France and UK are neutralized. After that, I think globalists, European elites will find it much easier to accept objective reality and capitulate, right? After that, European elites will find it much, much easier to accept, to face the reality, and accept that, yes, they tried to destroy Russia, they lost it, and they have to face the reality now. But question is, will Moscow authorize demilitarization of either France or the UK? No. Not under the presidency of the Putin, right? I'm quite sure about it. Putin has very different calculus, very different taker, it seems to me, right? So he will never authorize anything like that. So therefore, I guess absence of deterrent in place in relationships between Russia and European elites, of course, they will go ahead with this next phase of escalation, which is basically provoking direct open clashes between Russia and between number of European NATO member states and Russia. Anyways, let me join the community chat. By the way, I have plenty of news left, of course, for you about many different topics, including how British Defense Minister was saying that, well, he would love to hijack or kidnap Russian president. What's going on, man? By the way, do these people have any self-respect, or I mean, are they that stupid, man? The British Defense Minister is publicly on the camera saying that he would love to kidnap Russian president, and what the hell, man? What the hell? 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 What the And how you expect we should deal with those creatures? I mean, how? Just send one Oreshnik, for God's sake. Putin, if by chance you are watching my, streams, send the freaking Oreshnik, man. It's a one Oreshnik. It's a 36 warheads, isn't it? It only takes one Oreshnik, man, with special warheads. UK is not that big, man. Take out one Oreshnik will be enough with this 36 special warheads to obliterate all the military targets, and also one for Downing Street, one for MI6 office on the Thames, and one for Defense Ministry. Just because, and that's it, man. And we will never ever hear any crazy talk from London again. It's not that difficult, for God's sake, right? And be able to retaliate with the nukes. We can neutralize UK in a 30 freaking minutes, and they would not be able to retaliate with the nukes. We can do the same to the France, 30 freaking minutes, maximum 1 hour. That's it. And France will not be able to retaliate with the nukes. And if US will stand for them, then that will mean full-scale nuclear war. That will mean end of humanity. So I don't think US political class will die for either French political elites or the British ruling class. I don't think US leaders, US ruling class is dreaming about dying for either UK or France, man. I really don't. I don't think they're dreaming about dying at all. So that's how it is, man. Why are we being this freaking restrained, man? Let's teach them a lesson. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult, man. Just one order, and Russian militaries and Russian security services will execute. Anyways, let's go through some chat here. Interesting comment. Brolin is commenting, I met a Raytheon engineer that had helped to develop new US naval laser weapons. Well, in development, there is a lot of weaponry, isn't it, dear friends? All around the world, including high energy beams, lasers. And, Russia is also on top of the spear in terms of these developments, isn't it? Maybe Russia has even more advanced laser weaponry than any other country. That could be the case, but yet again, this, as far as I can tell, right now we are just not there yet, right? These laser weapons, they need tremendous energy, isn't it? Tremendous energy, and in order to have a sustainable laser weaponry, I mean, they have to operate on a miniaturized nuclear reactors. That's how much energy they need, actually, right? They have to work on miniaturized nuclear reactors, and technology is not there yet. Current lasers, yes, they can do some damage. If you point a laser, I mean, most powerful current lasers, from what I have seen during the tests or on videos of the tests of these lasers, you have to point a laser at least a couple of seconds on the target, at least a couple of seconds, right? And couple of seconds, by the way, is just too long, way too long, isn't it? Couple of seconds there, a couple of there, and if 100 drones are flying, by the way, towards you, I mean, you're not going to be able to do shit, right? Simply. And you're not going to have like 100 laser generators, because it will just take tremendous volume of energy. So therefore, you need the technology when you have on a vessel, for example, on a frigate, let's say, like four laser systems, right, on top and the back of the vessels, and on the sides, right, each. And these systems have to be so powerful that one beam like that in nanoseconds is enough to neutralize the target and then switch to another and another and another, right? And to be that capable, by the way, radars have to be improved there tremendously, which is doable for sure, but energy, you need there some 100x volume of energy than it is right now. So therefore, I don't really consider laser weaponry to be anything serious for now. For now, in the future, yes, but now, it's just for like, I don't know, man. Everyone loves this freaking Hollywood style shit, right? And that's why they are coming up with all the countries, by the way, coming up with these videos. You see, we destroy drone with the laser. Yeah, you were pointing laser fucking for freaking hour, man, on a plane. Eventually, yeah, you did shut down this. You burned the frame of the drone, and yeah, it went down. Oh, how big of a deal! So it's and when it comes to U.S. military industrial complex, level of exaggeration on their part is just unbelievable, isn't it? I remind you, dear friends, that they spend Americans, by the way, spend billions on one of the warships, right, of theirs. They build, I believe, like Zumwalt class warships. You know what am I talking about? And they should supposed to be revolutionary warships and stuff like that. They should supposed to have rail guns, right? Rail guns. And rail guns are operating on and electricity too. They are generating such a tremendous magnetic field force that they are pushing this snariad, this weapon, with tremendous speed on tremendous distances, right? And kinetic energy will be the main power of that weapon. But yet again, where those Zumwalt class warships are? They built couple of them, spent billions, and where are those vessels now? No one knows, no one cares, because U.S. military industrial complex was just lying that they have technology when they did not. Just because they have some prototype of the railgun does not mean that they're going to be able to put this on a vessel, right? And it's going to be success. No, man. So you see, that's what Western military industrial complex is good at: deception, lying, overestimating their own capabilities, and over-engineering whatever they are actually capable of building. And they are intentionally over-engineering the stuff because they are making more money on servicing this garbage that they create than while selling it, isn't it? So they are profiting from everything. So and that's why Western military equipment is demonstrating itself this poorly, by the way, on a battlefield with their high intensity in the zone of special military operation, for example, and elsewhere too, man. Yet again, your friends, let me check Boosty. Well, fundraising is not going that well, unfortunately, but yeah. Usually target is like $200, isn't it? But yeah, we have approximately 15 from Rumble, Scooby, thanks to Scooby. Rumble will take 5 out of these 15 at least. So, but nevertheless, and that's about it for now. Okay. In case you want to donate, dear friends, participate in the fundraising, you can see links to my PayPal or the Boosty platforms under this video in the description box. And by the way, when it comes to questions, When it comes to questions, dear friends, please use capital letter or the capital letters. Single capital Q will do the job. But in case I missed your question or the comment, well, my apologies. I'm just scrolling there, and when I spot some comment that potentially directed to me, I'm highlighting as in this particular case, DNIY, Dini, or DNI. Apologies for butchering your nickname. Is commenting, Levan, do you think the target of Oreshnik missile was a Western decision-making center? I don't know. Rumors, there are different rumors, isn't it? Main one now is that underground gas storage facility was targeted, and seems like most people are believing in this version. Another is that decision-making center was targeted, underground bunker, basically, where some not just Kiev regime's officers but NATO officers were also present. But in reality, no one knows, man. With the exception of few people, right? And Kiev regime is keeping information in complete secrecy, isn't it? No photos, no videos, no nothing from area that was targeted by warheads from the Oreshnik. So we just don't know. Could be both, isn't it? If you imagine underground storage facility, then well, I guess it's not just some underground, large underground caves that are full with their gas, right? But there's supposed to be some infrastructure there too, right? Underground infrastructure to monitor the situation and for this and that purposes, right? And this underground infrastructure could be used, or maybe was used by NATO officers, by Kiev regime officers also, as a command and control center. Maybe case, but we just don't know. So I cannot tell you with 100% certainty that yes, this was this or that. I just simply don't know, and with the exception of few people, no one does. It was a clear message, though. It was a clear message to Western ruling class, right, that they can be reached anytime, anywhere on a continent, on the European part of Eurasian continent. I always saying that there is no such a thing as a European continent, by the way, right? What is a European continent? Since when Europe become a continent? There is no European freaking continent. Why we are saying is if there is one. It's also freaking, I don't know, man, crazy, isn't it? But anyways, yeah, it's a message that Western ruling class can be reached anywhere, and also on top of that, there is some economical message too, because according to some reports, by the way, Kiev regime's underground storage facilities on a Kiev control territory were used not just by Kiev regime itself, but also by a number of European countries to store their gas, right, and then pump it out during the winter times. And according to reports that I have seen in the Russian media, European gas storage facilities already are on a record low for this time of the year, right? On unprecedentedly low levels. And if Russian Oreshnik targeted the underground storage facility where German, for example, gas was stored, or gas from any other European countries, and we are talking about billions of cubic meters of the gas, right? Then I think this would send also, as I said, economical message to the Western ruling class that will say, you know what, we can shut down your economy. You continue mess around, and we will shut down your economy. It's a strong message, by the way, if you think about it, and well, if this underground storage facility that was allegedly targeted is completely out of order, which is possibility, then I guess consequences of that will be felt in Europe, somewhere in Europe soon, because if the price is gonna rise, something gonna happen, or shortage is gonna occur, or maybe both. Prices will rise and there will be shortages too. But yet again, this year gonna be relatively hard for European economies in terms of energy. Hard, but in relative terms. Next year and the year after, every single year after, gonna be absolute horror for European economies in terms of energy. By the way, I think so. We will see. But yet again, on your question, DNI, with the exception of few, literally few people, no one actually knows what was targeted and how severe damage was to the place. Could be underground gas storage facility, could be NATO key regime decision-making center, could be both. Okay. Jerry Proctor is commenting. Hi, Levan. I think LRADs is a long-range air defenses. Yes, thank you very much for explanation. I did not think about it in the beginning. So yeah, most likely long-range air defenses. That's LRADs, I guess. And there are reports that yes, some medium range, not long range, but medium range air defenses were destroyed. Book, for example, like Book air defense systems, and there are videos of some of them being destroyed, but not all of them, right? And I believe Venezuela has S-300 air defense system. I have not seen any reports anywhere that S-300 was damaged. There are some speculations that U.S. used radio electronic warfare systems powerful enough to suppress radars of the Venezuelan air defenses, but I just don't buy this. I just don't buy this stuff, man. Right? What about yes, some air defenses were destroyed, some medium, maybe even long range air defenses were destroyed. Some was not. But what about manpads in Caracas? I mean, helicopters flew into Caracas, over the Caracas, right, on a low level. There was no manpads fired, not even machine guns fired, by the way, not even pistols. What was that? It's crazy. It's just it is absolute insanity, in my personal opinion, to believe that without order to stand down, order from the government of Venezuela itself, such an operation could be done, or such a scenery could happen when bunch of helicopters are flying like 100 meters altitude, on 100-meter altitude, and nobody is shooting at them. How, man? How this is possible, right? So it was some freak show that U.S. Government, Venezuelan government, or a Chinese government come up with, right? And yet again, Moscow potentially was informed about this freak show by Washington and Beijing, or maybe they did not even find it necessary to inform Moscow. We just don't know, right? But in any case, it was you know staged stuff for sure, and there are only why Americans killed these innocent civilians. Question is why they killed civilians, why they targeted civilian cars and stuff, and yes, those Cubans, by the way, they just get cross this freak show, right? They did not receive Havana, and that gives me indicated that Havana was not involved, by the way, right? Otherwise, those Cubans will also be on stand down, but they offered resistance and they were killed. So thank you for explanation. That's LRADs. I will know from now on. Let me check here. So, by the way, let me drop. Should I drop link? Just a sec. I will drop in the chat, in the YouTube chat now, a link to my Rumble. At least some members of our community can go and watch this live stream from Rumble, where my channel is monetized. More views the channel will have, probably there is more chances that my videos will reach core audience of their core community of the Rumble. And there are, by the way, tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands potentially, that actually prefer Rumble to YouTube, right? Maybe even millions. So, one day if my videos will have 10-15,000 views on Rumble, that will be quite support for the channel, of course. Yet again, because channel is monetized there. I don't know how much you will get from Rumble for 15,000 views. I don't think it's going to be more than like $10. But every day $10 in a month, it's $300, right? So $300 will be helpful for sure. So yes, if you can, please switch to my Rumble. Will be helpful, by the way. Oh, Zarael is here, by the way. Moderator from Duran, member of the Duran community. Moderator, hello, Zarael, and hello everybody. Of course, legendary moderator, I will say. Michael Kennedy is commenting. Emil Kosman thinks Europe are baboons and vassals. Well, Emil himself is Romanian, isn't it? And he knows how he knows how Europe operates and what. And while saying Europe, he means European ruling class. Obviously, he's not talking about ordinary people, of course. As I am not talking about ordinary people, I also always talk about elites, right? So-called elites of the Europe. Or if I'm mentioning societies, then I'm quite specific at that time. So Emil knows that yes, European governments, they are vassals, by the way, baboons, morons, right? Take a look at their merits, man. Does he leave the impression that this is a somewhat decent human being or the intellectual? It's freaking moron, man. You can read it on his freaking forehead, right? Take a look at the stammer. What a loser, man. Take a look at the stammer, man. And he is a freaking lawyer? Really? Where he was studying, in which university? I can imagine that British educational system is completely destroyed, by the way, if stupid creatures like Stammer are becoming lawyer based on their freaking education somewhere in UK. I don't know. It's a shame, right, on the British educational system that this stupid creature has a high education and was a lawyer. What about Macron? What about Macron? Total embarrassment of humanity, not just French society, but humanity itself, all of it. So of course they are freaking morons, and Emil Grossman is definitely correct. And they are vassals, obviously. They are vassals of globalists, right? And that's it. They are not true decision makers. They are vassals. So Emil there definitely is on point there. Question from the dish. Nidish Kumar, Levan, do you think Brazil can withstand regime change hopes, especially opposition openly supported by Trump? No, no, this is a big question, isn't it? This is a big topic. This is exam for the BRICS and the multipolarity, what we're gonna face now. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so disappointed in the BRICS, because they had many years to build up a financial and banking system, alternative financial and banking system, alternative to this weaponized Western one, alternative or trade architecture, international trade architecture, right? Not controlled by the West. And BRICS failed to do so. And I think BRICS failed to do so because this organization is infiltrated. From the beginning, this organization was infiltrated through several countries, right, by the Western ruling class to delay any progress. Among other things, their task is to delay any progress in terms of creating this alternative financial and banking system, alternative international trade architecture. And now we're gonna face consequences of that. No country actually is safe, right? We, by the way, Russia, are able to withstand the pressure from the West because of the geography, right? China is our neighbor, and basically India is not far away from us too. We have there's a Central Asia, massive region, right? So we can reach global. We are part of a global South, basically, and reaching any other players there is not that difficult. But geography of some other countries are not this fortunate, right? And the only way they can succeed, these other countries, in such an environment when the Western financial and the banking system, existing trade architecture is completely controlled and weaponized by the West. Only way these other countries could save themselves and succeed is if there was any alternatives, but there is none, right? And I was also thinking on the same question, Nidish, will Brazil survive? How Brazil gonna survive? I don't know. And Brazil is, of course, major economical powerhouse of the Latin America. I don't think they will survive, man, unfortunately. I don't think Brazil will manage to withstand pressure. And soon, Brazil might be actually first country which will leave the BRICS. Argentina never joined the BRICS, right? Argentina was accepted because there was application, right? Previous Argentinian government asked to be, to join the BRICS, and their decision was positive. And Brazil was advocating for Argentina, right? And because of the Brazil and respect towards the Brazil, BRICS member states said, okay, although some countries, including Russia, I believe, were against it, right? Because Argentina was not in such a shape, economically speaking, to be a part of a BRICS, right? Economically, for economical and some other reasons. And this critical take was correct one, actually. But nevertheless, because of the respect of Brazil and opinion of the Brazilian leadership, BRICS member states, including Russia, said, okay, let's receive Argentina, and then we'll see what happens, isn't it? People of Argentina decided that they want to support now this freaking nobody, right? This scum of humanity, Milei. And one of the first decisions this Milei made was to not join BRICS. So that's a different story. But yes, when it comes to Brazil, I think they might be first that will actually leave the BRICS. And I'm afraid the US, if not challenged, as it is the case now, or until now, I'm afraid US will overthrow leftist government in Brazil and will install ultra-right elements, fascist elements, actually. It's not about left and right no more, by the way. It's about
US is on a is transforming into a corporative fascist regime, right? Empire that is run by corporate fascist regime, and they will put in the power fascists, as it was the case with Chile, by the way, right? And the Pinochet. US was a big supporter of those fascists, right? And US actually orchestrated the coup d'etat in Chile, right, to install Pinochet. And there was a donation right now, dear friends, on 6 minutes ago, actually, on Boosty, and let me highlight this. Thank you very much, Alexander G, for donation through Boosty, $10 donation through Boosty, and also commentary. And I will make a screenshot now. And I will highlight, if I may, this. It will take a minute, dear friends. So yes, Nidish, I think there is a high probability that дочь, помоги, пожалуйста. Смотри, вот я уже сделал скрин. Вот это. Только знаешь, как надо? Дай секунду. Вот, чтобы только имя было видно, остальное заблурить, и вот почта электронная тоже заблурить. И комментарии. Или скинь мне, я здесь это все сделал. Окей. Спасибо. So, I will highlight Alexander's comment in a second. And while, yes, answering to your question, Idisha, I think there is high probability that we're going to see it might not be even a classical, so-called classical regime change, by the way. The US has a massive influence in Brazil. They have infiltrated Brazilian political class, public fielder in such ways that they might not even have any significant struggle through elections even, removing this leftist government and implementing some crazies in the power that will do whatever Washington will demand from them, including withdraw a country from the BRICS. Brazil would be much stronger. Спасибо. Okay. Brazil would be much stronger, and every other BRICS member state, of course, if we had an alternative financial and banking system from the BRICS, but we don't. And alternative trade, international architecture for the international trade, but we don't, man. And the reason why we don't is because BRICS is infiltrated by the Western ruling class, 100%, by the way. BRICS, through a number of countries, are infiltrated and sabotaged from within. And BRICS is failing, by the way, unfortunately. Now BRICS is on a decline. I'm afraid. I mean, maybe I'm too... my reading of the big picture is too dramatic or something. Could be the case, but yeah. Let me now highlight, dear friends. Let me highlight... Let me highlight a message from a comment from Alexander G on Boosty. And let's continue our conversation. It's more than 2 hours now. Wow. Sometimes time is flying, isn't it? But we have a good conversation, isn't it? So this is... This is a comment and the donation from Alexander G. Thank you very much, Alexander, for your 763 ruble donation, which is $10. I think and comment from Alexander is I think Putin know what he is doing. Extending into NATO territory would likely be the end of us all, which is why he tried to contain the conflict to Ukraine. Americans seizing ships might force it. I mean, yes. I have to agree and also disagree, Alexander, because I don't think if Russia would take decisive action against some of the European NATO member states that are led by totally insane elements, France, UK, first of all, Germany, some others. I don't think that will lead to extinction level event because I'm 100% convinced US will not get involved. I'm 100% convinced in that US will stay away. They might make crazy statements. They might be exchanged with their non-nuclear weaponry between the sides, but generally speaking, US ruling class will prefer to stay away. They're not going to die for British ruling class or for globalists agenda, right? They want to leave. So therefore, I think if Russia and Russia has, by the way, dozens and dozens of reasons to take action against the European NATO member states. Almost every day, NATO countries, UK and France, for example, are committing war crimes and acts of war against Russia. Every such instance, for example, recent attack on Russian civilians in the Kherson region was conducted by British militaries, isn't it? It was southern sectors. In southern sectors, in charge are British intelligence and militaries. They know they were killing civilians. They did it. Is it an act of war? It is. They killed 29 civilians, by the way, including children. They killed and wounded dozens of people. 29 was killed. There are many more wounded, including children, right? Is it an act of war? It is an act of war, yes. I think this is an act of war for which Russia was, had every right to retaliate with nuclear weapons. Let's not kid ourselves, man. Why we need these nukes? Why we are spending billions on maintenance of these nuclear weapons? If countries like UK or the France can mess around us, kill our citizens, kill our militaries, civilians, target our strategical infrastructure. Recently, just recently, a couple of weeks ago, there was an attack on Russian nuclear triad again, isn't it? In the Novgorod region, where Russian president's residency is, according to reports, there is a command and control center of Russian strategical forces, which is a part of nuclear triad. This attack, of course, was conducted and orchestrated by the British intelligence services, with at least knowledge of US secret services, right? CIA was involved anyways, was at least informed, potentially was involved too, and was sharing some intelligence with the British MI6, right? Is it enough reason to take action? I think so, yes. We have many reasons. Every strike on deep inside the Russian territory with the British or French missiles is an act of war and reason for Russia to retaliate. And I think we should retaliate with not just their ordinary weapons, but with nuclear weapons. That's what I want to happen, by the way, right? To retaliate with the nuclear weapons. This is the only way we can put these regimes in France and UK into their places. And I'm not saying let's use nukes recklessly. No, man. I'm saying let's neutralize their nuclear capabilities. Can we do it? Can we neutralize British? They only have 4 nuclear submarines, by the way, right? It's not like they have plenty of it, right? And some of them might hide somewhere. No, they cannot hide nowhere, man. From these four, only one is operational at this particular point, I believe. Maybe not even at sea. But in any case, why Russia has their military intelligence? Why Russia has foreign intelligence? We have to know where these assets are. French nuclear assets, British nuclear assets. We have enough precision weaponry, right? All sorts of precision weaponry, hypersonic weaponry included, that can be deployed to annihilate, with 100% guarantee, annihilate nuclear capabilities of France and the UK. This is a real talk, by the way, right? I never pretend to be a freaking pacifist. No, man. British ruling class, French ruling class, they want to be our enemies. They killing our citizens. They killing Russians. They want to destroy Russia. I have every right to want to strike them back, right? And destroy them. Am I correct? It's fair. It's not like they never done anything against Russia and I am now just, calling for some extra ordinary measures. No, man, they committed numerous acts of wars against Russia. And we can actually take out their nuclear weaponry, their nuclear weapons, nuclear capabilities. And we should do it, man. I'm 100% convinced that we cannot allow France and UK to maintain nuclear weapons and nuclear capabilities. And I'm also convinced that US will not get engaged because that will be suicidal for the US. So that's how it is. That's how it is. I don't know what Putin knows or don't. I'm a bit disappointed in his policies during the special military operation, and I never hesitate to express my opinion on that, right? I think he is a weak leader for wartime. He was a great leader during the peacetime, but he is a weak leader for wartime. I really think so. And he will never make decision to demilitarize France and UK. But I'm quite sure such action will not cause extinction level event, right? War between Russia and US will, but in Europe, by the way, we only have to take out military capabilities of a couple of countries. France, UK, Germany has to pay price, of course, for all the crimes that they committed against Russia. And I remind you that Germany is the second only after US when it comes to money and weapons that they send to kill Russian citizens. So, of course, I would take action against Germany too, and I would nuke military industrial areas of the Germany. I will make Germany unable to build even spoons, to make even spoons, by the way. That's what I would do to Germany as a retaliation for killing Russian people, right? That's it, man. Italy should pay the price, of course. And that's it, man. That will keep European elites at bay, at least for decades and decades to come, right? And that will open opportunity for Western societies to somehow reclaim their own countries and never ever to allow psychopaths to take leadership in their countries, because they will know, people in Europe will know price of consequences if they allow psychos to take control over their countries, as it is now the case, right? So, as I said, partially I agree with you, partially don't, because, Putin definitely knows what he's doing. Just because I don't understand his policies does not mean that he's wrong or something. No, I just disagree with his policies. That's it. These restraint policies. But of course, he knows what he's doing, and my hope actually is that his policy will succeed. I really hope so, right? I really hope so. We will find out. But also, same time, as I said, I don't think if we will demilitarize France, Germany, UK, Italy, that will trigger extinction level event and full scale nuclear war between Russia and US. No, Americans not gonna die for European ruling class and for globalists, man. Not happening, you know. And this is a real talk, you know. This is honest, real talk. You might don't like it, you know. Many members might say, you know, why are you being this aggressive or something? No, I'm not aggressive, by the way. But do we have to deter Western ruling class or not? I mean, that's a fundamental question. Do we have to put them in their place, these globalist criminals? Or how long we can avoid facing their confrontation, actual confrontation? How long we will manage to avoid facing the reality in some ways, right? In some sense. Because it is so obvious that until there is only language that globalists understand is a force, right? And until we'll use this force, they're not going to stop. They're not going to kill Russians. They're not going to stop attacking Russia, right? And trying everything they can to destroy Russia. So when we know all this stuff, how long it will take or how long is needed for leadership of Russia to just acknowledge that, yes, man, I mean, this is the reality. There is no other, right? And what is the point to prolong this horror any longer? Maybe it is preferable, you know, maybe a horrible ending of all these tragedies is more preferable than unending horror, right? And it's gonna be horrible ending of the globalists and for the globalists first and foremost, right? Because they mostly they're gonna be incinerated in Russian retaliation if it's done in a way that I think is appropriate. But you know, until we strike back, by the way, they're gonna continue to escalate. You know, it's just, it is what it is, and if we hesitate to strike now, tomorrow we might face reality when they are arming Kyiv regime with the nukes. They will call it domestically built nukes, domestically in a Kyiv controlled territory, build the Ukrainian nukes, you know, and then we're gonna face this danger, right? So maybe we should operate on a preemptive level. Oh, Zarel is commenting, actually, there are non-Russian AD systems that can intercept hypersonic weapons, but their efficiency is not very high. Again, hypersonic weapons, yes, it's extremely difficult to intercept, of course. First of all, because they are creating plasma, isn't it? Those hypersonic weapons are creating, their speed is so high while entering the atmosphere that there is a plasma, they are in a bubble of plasma through which radars cannot see nothing, right? Mostly. But according to what I have seen in open sources, S-500 can intercept hypersonic weapons. That's what I have heard, right? That's what I have read in open sources. And that's why I said if any country, it's Russia that has capabilities to intercept hypersonic more reliably than others, right? Because by chance, maybe even some Patriot will manage to hit something, right? Or something hypersonic, but chances that Russian S-500 will do this more successfully is much higher, because I believe S-500 is just a much better system that not just Patriot, but THAAD and whatever else they have in America, in the West, generally speaking. But yes, hypersonic weapon systems are, hard to intercept for sure. it's hard to detect. Even to intercept, you have to detect, right? To detect, you need to have some time, and we are talking about very little time, right? That it takes from moment of entry, moment of re-entry, and the moment of impact. It takes literally, like, I don't know, seconds, right? And because these weapons are coming down vertically, as far as I can tell, they're reaching certain point and coming down vertically. So need a long range detection. You need to be able to detect launch itself, right? Then track these warheads in space and try to intercept them in space, because once they will re-enter the atmosphere, you will struggle to track them, right? Because of this plasma bubble around them. And also you need to have a firing solution in such a room. It must be very difficult. I'm not a military expert, of course, but I can understand that it must be tremendously difficult stuff. Also, Nidish Kumar is commenting, do you think Russia will agree to have French engines on its civilian planes, which are about to manufacture it in India? Hell is saying Russian engines drinks a lot of fuel and their operational costs are high. No, we cannot have French engines on our planes. You are talking about civilian planes, right? Because I don't think Russia will ever consider to use French or NATO engines for military planes. We have our own, but latest Russian civilian engines are quite good, I believe. At least that's what experts are saying. And in any ways, it's a French engine. Even if produced in India, it's still a French engine. So India will neither to ask France first if they are not against export of these engines to Russia, and most likely they will say no, they don't want French engines to be exported in Russia, and then Russian side is also will say no, because it's a French engines, and we don't really want to be dependent on the West for anything, right? We now have a unique historical opportunity to cut ties with the West, right? Especially with Europe. We never had any special economical ties with the US, but Europe was EU, by the way, was number one trade partner with Russia, and trade was, if I remember correctly, over $500 billion a year, which is quite big, right? And the Europe betrayed Russia again, right? So I think one have to be traitor of Russia and hater of Russia if that one will advocate for Russian dependent on Europe to be organized again. If anybody in Russian government says we have to get closer to Europe, I mean, that someone should be taken out and shot straight away as a traitor. That's my take, by the way, right on that. If anyone in the Russian government says Europe is our partner, we have to do business with them, and let's bring Europe again in Russia, and let's forget about everything that happened, that someone is a traitor, should be shot on the spot. That's what I think, by the way, right? And I hope there is no one that insane in the Russian government. I hope there is no one that insane in the Russian government, and I hope no traitors in the Russian government. I really hope so, although I'm not 100% convinced, because Western ruling class already demonstrated that their secret services are well capable of infiltrating not just societies worldwide in different countries, but also state institutions, and that means government. So I really hope that fifth column that most likely Western ruling class has in Russia is not that capable and not that powerful. So no, thanks, no. We don't need no French engines. We don't need nothing French. literally nothing French, with except the literature. Cultural stuff is a different, okay? Cultural exchange, great, right? But in terms of economy, we don't need nothing from France. We don't need nothing from Europe or from the collective West. Nothing, literally nothing, by the way, right? We can build for ourselves everything. And if we are not building now, when we will end up in a situation that we have to, we will, because our intellectual potential is there, right? Intellectual potential is there, and after all, there is a reason, isn't it, why in all these most advanced companies worldwide, their top engineers are of Russian descent, right? So, and they learned this stuff somewhere, isn't it? Where they learned it? Here in Russia. So there is a school that can provide engineers, right, in any field. So if we cannot, for example, Siemens is building probably best gas turbines in the world, right? Maybe best hydro turbines in the world. Okay, they might be best, most sufficient, more economical, and this and that. But because it's German, probably it's over-engineered, so it will need a service much more time than ones that we will build here, right? And reports are, by the way, that Iran actually start building, turbines on this topic that are maybe not as sufficient as just German ones, but are quite good, right? And I believe Iran is exporting those turbines here in Russia. And I think we can build turbines. Maybe we are building the turbines too, as an example, right? That may not be as sufficient and this and that as a Siemens, but they will do the job, right? They will do the job. And eventually, we will get, once we will invest enough in this field, we will get to the level of sophistications that Siemens is at. So you see, we need to just create demand, right? When there is demand, we can deal with it. We can build anything, right? Russia is a country that among very few that can deliver humans to space, right? So if we can fly to space, we can build freaking anything. Correct? So no, we don't need nothing from France, nothing from UK, nothing from Germany, nothing. Just cultural exchange between the people, open door policies in this regard, yes, absolutely so. But economical cooperation, no. No, man. No thanks. They betray us, man. How many times Europeans gonna betray European elites? I'm talking about gonna betray Russia so that Russian elites will learn the freaking lesson that those elites in Europe can never ever be trusted. Period, man. Period. They will use anything, right, to infiltrate your country, right, and then to generate some active there and then use it against you, right? So no thanks. We should stay away from Europe as much as possible. My personal opinion, maybe 99% of public here in Russia will disagree with me, right? Or maybe majority will agree with me. I don't know, but interesting. Svetlana Vladimirova is commenting. I know that fake Russian managed the moment I replied in Russian. The amount of fake Russians on YouTube chats is legion. What the hell is going on? Well, I did not notice, but I guess there was some troll, by the way, or bot, some from somewhere. There are plenty of those, right? There are plenty of those. Good example, and there are Western ruling class, Western secret services, and so on. They're active. Is using these tactics, not just against Russia, by the way, with fakeness, right? But against everybody. And for example, now we all know there is unrest in Iran, right? And son of former Shah of Iran, Pahlavi or whatever his freaking name is, recently posted something, and it had maybe at this point it might have even higher views, 5 million reactions or something on Twitter, right? Probably for now it's even higher. And you know what is interesting? A moment when that individual posted, at that moment internet was down in Iran, and internet is still down in Iran, by the way, right? Mostly there is very few people can have access to internet in Iran, if anybody. And so you tell me how this guy that's supposed to be popular among Iranians in Iran, because he's being presented as someone that can lead Iran, right? And he's so popular in Iran and everybody's for him. So you tell me who these 5 million likes or the views are, man. From where these views coming? If in Iran, where that person's supposed to be popular, and from where his subscribers must be, in Iran there is no internet. So it's not Iranians from Iran, right? So who are those people? Who are those millions and millions of accounts, right? Who are behind them? Western secret services, correct? Western chat bots or bot farms and stuff like that? Of course. Of course. And that's why I said, by the way, quite a few times that if anybody thinks that once after Elon Musk brought Twitter, this platform become any better than it was before, no, man. Twitter was garbage, and X is a garbage. So, right, it's used as a tool by CIA and other Western secret services. This was the case before, it is the case now. Censorship was a thing before, it is a thing now too, right? That's how it is. It's the same stuff, Svetlana. It's the same stuff when this so-called non-system opposition publishes something on YouTube, right? That have run away from Russia long ago, isn't it? It's the same stuff. They are publishing something, and literally in hours they have millions of views on YouTube, and you think, who is freaking watching this, man? Who actually watches this garbage? Who? In few hours, few million views? Seriously? But it's algorithm, man. It's not real numbers. It's all fake. Western, if anything characterizes the Western world, is fakeness. Everything is fake there. And unfortunately, most of the people in the West are also fake. Most, not all of them, but most people are fake too, because they are afraid to say what they think, actually, right? They will say, in Russia, the people are afraid to say anything, and if you criticize Putin, you're going to go in and die in jail in somewhere in Siberia. They love to talk that kind of crap, isn't it? But same time, and they actually, maybe they actually believe in this shit, right? Which is total nonsense. I just said, I was critical many times of certain policies of the government, and during this live stream, I said that I think Putin is a weaker leader for wartime. He was a great leader, strong leader for peacetime, but I think he is a weak leader for wartime. I think majority of Russian public will disagree with me on that. Quite sure about it. But nevertheless, that's my opinion, right? And I'm quite sure neither today or tomorrow or day after, FSB or someone gonna come and take in Siberia or shot me on the way to Siberia. No, nothing gonna happen. No one gives a damn, right? As long as I am not committing crime, not breaking the law, no one gives a damn what I think, why, how, what I do. I'm living my life, and as long as I'm not creating dangers for the public and the country, I'm good to go, right? But in the West, do you think people in the West feel that free? No, man. Maybe they are able to say the same about Trump in the US. Although, by the way, I think some Republicans will find it difficult to say about Trump that he is a weak leader. I think many Republicans will find it difficult to criticize Trump because Trumpsters gonna eat them alive, man. Right? They're gonna become under attack straight away. I'm quite sure about it. But okay, they might have an opportunity to say about, let's say, UK. Let's take UK, about Stammer, anything they want. Or maybe not even anything, because I think there is a criminal cases now open against some people in UK that published something with Macron, and it was kind of humiliating with Stammer. It was kind of humiliating for Stammer or something, and they want not just to jail the people, but they want to shut down Twitter X itself. So you see, you cannot even say or do something, post something about politicians there. And there is definitely some topics that you better don't say nothing about, or you will for sure go to jail and be arrested in UK, in all over the But UK is leading the charge, isn't it? I mean, they love to jail people for freaking comments on internet. So, and people are afraid now. I can understand that many people are freaking afraid to say anything, really, because they don't want to go to jail. And you may go to jail not just for a post on a Facebook or something, but even if you write comment to your friend, private message, and if your friend was not really a friend, and your friend talked this comments to police and said that this was an offensive comments towards certain groups of people, I mean, you might get arrested, man. And there were such cases, actually, right? When people were arrested for saying some stuff, respectful or disrespectful, who cares, man? It's a private messaging, right? And people were arrested for private messages. So you see, if anything characterizes the modern Western world is a fakeness, man. Just how freaking fake everything is there. Almost everything, man, right? Including most of the people. I truly believe that most of the people in the West are fake, man, right? Because I refuse to believe that most of the people are just that stupid or illiterate or uneducated. So because they must be more educated, more literate, only explanation of their stupid behavior is that they are fake. They cannot express their opinions and defend their opinions, right? So they are just going along with whatever is a popular narrative. And that's the fakeness, isn't it? That is the fakeness. Anyways, man, should I go through... Should I go... Nidish Kumar is commenting, Levan, I think Russia should get control of entire Black Sea to stop shipments to Kiev. Well, controlling entire Black Sea is impossible, realistically speaking, in practical terms, because several countries on the Black Sea are NATO member states. Turkey, Bulgaria, Romania, right? And so, yes, that is that. And also, what we need is to establish control over the Black Sea coast of historical Russia, of Novorossiya, right? Black Sea coast of Novorossiya, by the way. I don't even want to use word Ukraine. Probably you have noticed that many times, that I'm trying to avoid using this freaking word, man, because I don't recognize the existence of ethnicity as Ukrainian, right? I don't, it's not just me, by the way. Historically, there is no such a freaking ethnicity. Never existed, will never exist, right? Just because some idiots are calling themselves, let's say, Andromedians, and if their number over time will become million or 2 million, we're not gonna say that these are no longer humans, these are Andromedians now, right? Different race. I mean, really? That's where we are now, that anyone can create. In the West, yes, it's normal when someone says, what, wardrobe from now on is a gender wardrobe, right? And someone can be freaking wardrobe by gender, and you have to address that person as a wardrobe. How are you, wardrobe? All that kind of stuff. So West is there, right? For them, that's okay. Someone can be wardrobe, someone can be cabbage, someone can be, I don't know, man, penguin, horse. It's all okay there. But in reality, in real world, by the way, where normality is still respected, science matters. And scientifically, historically speaking, there is no Ukrainian ethnic group, never existed, will never exist, right? Everyone who actually believes that they are ethnic Ukrainians are just illiterate, ill-educated traitors of their actual ethnicities, of their actual people. Some of them are Russians, some of them are Poles, some of them are Hungarians, and so on, right? You can continue. None of them are Ukrainians, because there is no such a freaking ethnicity, right? It's a creation of British and the German aristocracies, by the way, this political Ukrainianism, right? But nevertheless, we have to take control over the entire Black Sea coast of Novorossiya, Odessa, Nikolaev, all of it, everything. And we will, by the way. I said many times before, this conflict, once this conflict will end, there will be no more this quasi-state under such name of Ukraine on the political map, right? As it should never existed. There will be no Ukraine. Western part of Ukraine most likely will be reclaimed eventually by Poland, Hungary, and Romania. Rest will join Russian Federation, where it belongs because it's a Russia. It's a historical Russia. Always was, always will be, period. That's it. All right, so yes. Coastal line, for sure, will be controlled by Russia, but when it comes to entire Black Sea, if any one country controls Black Sea in some sense, it's Turkey, because of the straits. And this is one of the reasons why I always say emergence of Turkey and then Ottoman Empire as this quasi-state, right, was a biggest tragedy, one of the biggest tragedy at least, for Eastern Christianity and the nations of their Eastern Christianity world, right, from Greeks to Russia. Emergence of Turkey as a state, by the way, I'm talking about this statehood stuff, right? And Turkey happened because of their Western Crusades, isn't it? One should also acknowledge that Turkey happened because Western Crusades destroyed Constantinople, right? They were robbing Byzantium for many years, and eventually, when they were unsuccessful fighting in the Middle East, they robbed Constantinople itself and weakened so much so that when Turkish tribes arrived, they find it quite not that difficult, let's say, to take control over the capital of Byzantium, Eastern Roman Empire, and that is that. And I think that was the biggest tragedy for many reasons for all the nations of the Eastern Christianity, for sure. And they control their straits, by the way. That's supposed to be controlled either by Greeks, let's say, right, first and foremost. Or there was also historical opportunity that Constantinople city itself, which called Istanbul nowadays, there was a historical opportunity some 100 years ago, approximately, maybe a little longer than that, actually. No, longer than that. My apologies. But there was a historical opportunity when Russian troops were liberating Eastern European countries from Ottoman Empire to actually liberate Constantinople too, right? And the Empire of Russia at the time, who was there? Alexander refused to give such a order to Russian militaries that were on the outskirts of Constantinople, by the way. And they were in a position to actually go in and establish control over the city. And that will mean control over the straits too. Such a historical opportunity was missed, by the way. And brother of empire was there, by the way, on the front line and was asking, I believe it was a brother that was actually asking emperor to allow Russian troops to enter the city. And the emperor said no. And as far as I can tell, the emperor said no because he was engaged in some negotiations with you guessed, which royal family? British royal family, by the way. And due to this involvement of British royal family, Constantinople is called now Istanbul. But that's some historical stuff there. But we will get control over their Black Sea coast for sure. And you know what? It's almost 3 hours, by the way. Almost 3 hours. Let me check. Rumble. Let me check also. So, yeah. I mean, should I go through news, dear friends, or just through comments and I will keep some of the news that I have prepared for today's update for tomorrow. Zarael is also commenting, I also think that most don't even realize or understand why Russia is using Reshnik. It is a language, believe it or not, that needs to be understood, directed towards NATO, not USA, I guess you want to say. And it is a language, of course. I always said that this is a message, of course, for the Western ruling class. First of all, for European ruling class, because Oreshnik is a medium range missile system that can reach, I believe, literally any point in Europe. Right? So it is a message. But as you said, Zarael, this is a language that needs to be understood. Question is, after so many acts of war committed by their Western ruling class, by British leadership, British military intelligence, French military and intelligence, others, after so many war crimes and acts of war, including attacks on Russian nuclear triad, when there was no direct retaliation from Russia, do you think Western ruling class is in position to actually be able to understand this language that Russia is using? I think they're not gonna understand nothing, because they committed numerous acts of war against Russia with total impunity, right? With literally total impunity. And I'm quite sure they really believe that Moscow is bluffing. I think they actually believe that Moscow is bluffing and will never do anything against their Western ruling class or the territory that they control. And maybe they are correct, by the way. I don't know. Maybe Putin is bluffing. Maybe all the other officials and Russia are bluffing. I have no freaking idea. I never speak to them, right? Or maybe they don't. I truly don't know. At this point, I truly don't know, and that's why I was absolutely confident that despite there's some strong statements after recent attack on Russian nuclear triad that was located in a presidential residency, according to some reports, in the Novgorod region. That's why I said straight away and was confident in my statement that Russia will not retaliate either on a leadership of Kiev regime or decision-making centers in Kiev, on the Bankova, for example, or elsewhere, and definitely not in and definitely Russia would not retaliate on NATO countries that are openly engaged in this war and were openly engaged in that attack on Russian nuclear triad or the Russian president's residency. And I was correct. I was correct because I think at this point, probably there is nothing that Western ruling class can do which will force Putin to change his restraint policy. I mean, maybe if NATO will, actually give Kiev regime nuclear warheads and began deploying through Kiev regime hands, began deploying nuclear weapons against Russia, maybe that will influence Putin's decision making. Maybe, but other than that, I don't even know what Western ruling class can do, right? That will trigger Putin to change its attitude, its policies. And that's why Western ruling class probably thinks that Putin is bluffing because, they just cannot understand. They cannot understand how so many acts of war can be tolerated. I don't understand too, let's be real. And initially, probably nobody in the West actually believed that they can get away with so many crimes against Russia. And that's why on initial stages of the special military operation, they were keeping quiet, isn't it? They were keeping quiet, by the way. There was not even talks about either military transfer or military personnel transfer or even weapons transfer. First couple of weeks, they were keeping quiet. But then, step by step, let's send a little bit of weapons here, little bit of weapons there. Let's call it the defensive weapons, right? ITGMs and that kind of stuff. Then let's send a little more, and then IFVs, infantry fighting vehicles, have been transferred, then tanks have been transferred, then aircraft have been transferred, maritime boats, you name it, everything, right? With the exception of nukes. That's the only weapon that NATO did not actually give to Kiev regime yet. Formally to Kiev regime, in reality, most of these weapons are deployed by Western militaries, right? Long-range weapons especially. And so you see, probably even Western elites initially were not hesitant and were afraid that, what, if we do something, Moscow gonna hit us bad, man. But step by step, little by little, but when they see that after each escalatory step there was nothing, no reaction actually from other than comments and their statements, right? There was no actual, kinetic reaction, let's say, from Russian side, no consequences, no nothing. They get emboldened, by the way, in such a way that probably they are absolutely convinced that no matter what they're going to do, Putin is bluffing and therefore Russia will not retaliate on them. And yet again, maybe they are correct. I don't know. And that's why probably they would not be able to understand this language that you said. And Oreshnik is a definitely message. But there were so many other messages, isn't it? So many messages from Moscow that, if I was representing Western ruling class, probably I would start doubting too that Russia will retaliate ever, no matter what we do. Probably I would start doubting that too, because, I mean, for God's sake, man, we did everything, right? We did not just strike you with the nukes. Otherwise, we strike your nuclear triad. We try to kill your president. We are terrorizing your public. We are doing freaking everything, man. We can, right? And you are still like, sending messages. I mean, seriously, man. So if I was representing Western ruling class, I would also be quite convinced that Putin is bluffing, man, and all the others in Russian leadership. And maybe they are bluffing. I don't know. Let's end this live stream, dear friends. On that, let me check. Rumble. So 44, 43 now. Members are watching on Rumble. Good to see. Little bit high number. Usually it's like around 20. It is difficult to reach wide audience on Rumble, by the way. On YouTube, it's almost impossible. On Rumble, extremely difficult. But yeah, nevertheless, I have to try, isn't it? And Zaral is also commenting, Levan, America is a dying empire, and this thrashing around is their last desperate breath of this empire of evil. I also think that US US had a chance, for sure, had the chance to maintain relevance on a geopolitical scale, but not this way, man, not this way. They should act very differently. They should seek cooperation with Russia instead of hostility, instead of this proxy war, and they made the wrong decision. They made the wrong choices, and they're gonna face the consequences for now. So I agree with you, Zariel. Absolutely, US is done, in my personal opinion, too. And it is an evil empire. It is an evil empire for sure. US is led by people that are no any better than ruling class in Europe, maybe even worse. I mean. Ani stoje drug druga. I mean, they all are just, But nevertheless, yes, there is a certain decline of the inevitability in a decline of our power of the Western ruling class, right? I think this is factually accurate, and the process itself is inevitable, isn't it? This decline will continue, but before Western ruling class will reach the point when their relevance is no longer influences much, right? No longer on a global scale. Until that happened, I think we will see a divide of the world between, on one side, collective West, on the other side, rest of the world. And they're going to be Cold War between the two. And in this Cold War, Western ruling class not going to end up as a winners. They're going to lose. They're going to lose big time. And eventually, rest of the world will re-embrace this collective West. Once collective West will be led by better elites, better ruling class. And I'm talking about like 30 to 50 years from now, potentially towards the definitely second half of 21st century. That's the time when, after inevitable divide of this world, Western ruling class Western collective West will rejoin the rest of the world. But until then, until then, I would I would recommend to everybody that are living in the Western countries right now to flee while they can, and while it's going to be relatively easy. Nothing is easy, but while it's relatively easy, while their assets in the West are worth something, right? They should consider, all good people, by the way, in the West should consider to move elsewhere, right? Because collective West is not safe and doomed. I truly believe in that, you know. And many people probably see this on their own, and that's why they are coming to Russia, for example. And they are happy in Russia, by the way, right? They're coming to Russia, and they're living their lives, and are happy, you know. There's always some issues that one have to deal, isn't it? Always. That's how life is. But okay, dear friends, it's more than 3 hours, and maybe it is time to end the live stream. We had a good conversation, isn't it? We had a good conversation. Of course, I have a new segment prepared, by the way, but I will keep some of the news that are relevant for tomorrow. News was about. I mean, let me check. Mainly about Venezuela, Latin America, Greenlander, Iran, situation in Iran, and situation is in Iran is of course quite dangerous. Although today I think there is a more reasons to believe that maybe government is managing to reclaim control or initiative in the processes. Maybe my understanding is mistaken, but until today, my understanding was that these rioters were having an upper hand, or they were having initiative. But in past 12 hours, 12 to 24 hours, I have seen some developments that may be indicators that maybe Tehran is regaining their control. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong on that, but situation is dangerous in any ways, obviously. Interesting comment. Ramblons is commenting on U.S. is signing a deal with Zelensky to give him $800 billion. You mean for the next 10 years? I know this is one of the points in Zelensky's, or globalists, let's say this way, so-called peace plan, isn't it? To create this fund for reconstruction or something, and this fund should have $800 billion. It's not happening. It's just not happening, by the way, right? Trump may sign up on any paper right now, but in a year from now, maybe 2 years, but eventually when this military phase of this conflict will end, everything east of Western Ukraine will be under Russian control. Everything. So therefore, there's gonna be no Ukraine on the political map, right? Globalists might try to maintain quasi-statehood of Ukraine in the western part of it, right? But and they might come up with a government, temporary government, and this and that. But this western part of Ukraine used to be, not that long ago, by the way, before Second World War, for example, 70% of it was a part of Poland, and I don't think Warsaw will hesitate these games too long, right? And at some point they will reclaim this 70% of the Western Ukraine. Hungary will most likely most definitely, by the way, will reclaim Transcarpathia region that used to be part of Hungary before First World War. Then it was given to Czechoslovakia, was a part of Slovakia basically there. Before it was taken by Stalin, by the way, and given to Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. And Romania, by the way, lost so many territories too to a Soviet Union, to Soviet Ukraine, right? Stalin took plenty of territories from Romania, including Moldova, by the way. Entire republic was created, right, on a territory that was taken from Romania after Second World War. So Moldova was created, and also plenty of territory was given to Soviet Ukraine. And when I say Ukraine is a creation of Bolsheviks, by the way, I actually mean that. Lenin created the Ukraine purely on the Russian territory, on the Russian, historical Russian territory, by the way, right? And he did this, Lenin and his Bolshevik henchmen did this maybe because of the influence of their Western masters, right? Because I remind you, by the way, political Ukrainianism is a British and a German constant. It's a British and German elites, ruling class that come up with this idea, right? So maybe there was an influence, right, to create Ukraine, because why they did it, man? Who was asking for that? To create Ukraine on a territory where Russians are living and see themselves and consider themselves to be Russians. No one asked for this, right? No one, literally. But Lenin did it anyways. What a crazy move, isn't it? And once all the archives will be open, by the way, we might learn that there was a London's hand in this and the Berlin's hand. Most likely that was the case, right? But Lenin created it on the Russian territory. Then Stalin came, by the way, and Stalin had a different attitude. You know, Stalin took territory from others, not from Russia. And Stalin was considering himself to be Russian, by the way. He was Georgian Ossetian, right? As I am. But he was considering, he was saying that he's Russian, right? And he was saying himself like that. And he did very many great things for Russia, although settler policies were too freaking damaging, and I wish he never did it. But anyways, I mean, he's a historical figure, no matter what we think about him. And Stalin took territory from Poland, Hungary, or Czechoslovakia at the time, Romania, and they give it to Ukraine, Soviet Ukraine. So it's a purely Bolshevik creation, by the way, right? On an ideological level, on a theoretical level, it's a creation of this political Ukrainianism is a creation of British and German elites, ruling class, and in the practical terms, Ukraine was created by Bolsheviks, by Lenin first of all, and then Stalin just added. I guess because Stalin was Stalin never thinks that anybody, Western ruling class or anybody, would actually manage to brainwash people in Soviet Ukraine so much so that they will start considering themselves to be not just different than Russians, but not even brothers of Russians, and even to be enemies of Russia and to become a hostile and full of hatred. I don't think Stalin would ever think about this happening, but unfortunately it happened. Western ruling class did manage to brainwash quite a number of people there, isn't it? So this is not happening, Ramplans. The Kiev regime not gonna get no 800 billion. Not possible, because as I said, once this conflict will end, Russia will reestablish control over the entire Ukraine, with the exception of western parts of it. And when it comes to western part, NATO can deal with it in any way, shape, or form they want, right? And if the US wants to invest 800 billion in the western parts of Ukraine, I think Poland will have no issue with that, or the Hungary or the Romania, right? They will ask for more. So I just saw a question, by the way, and I was scrolling so fast I missed it. Let me find it. Oh, I find it, by the way. So you see these capital letters, by the way. I was scrolling fast, and I just spotted for a fraction of a second these capital letters, and you know. So what do you think, Jerry Tate is asking, what do you think Russia will do in response to US-UK act of piracy and attacking on shipping? Maybe Russia will detain. I mean, Svetlana Vladimirovna in the beginning of the stream said that there are some rumors now circulating that Russia allegedly detained 12 tankers that are linked to the West. I don't know. I mean, we need some confirmations of this information. This is just alleged development, right? So maybe Russia will take action and detain some of their Western tankers or their vessels that are linked to the West. Maybe this will deter Western ruling class from further escalation on a high sea. This is one way we can deal with the situation. Also, Russia might deploy, just in case, some blue water naval assets into ocean. All oceans, by the way, Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, all over the place, right? And Russian Navy can actually deploy its naval assets to protect maritime trade routes. That could be a response, and I guess that's about it. I mean, what else can be done, really? Maybe a couple of more statements, okay, but so probably we will hear soon that certain vessels were detained somewhere by Russian Navy. And there will be a reason, by the way, It is always quite easy to find a reason if you want to. Or justification, right? So let me check once again here. Well, Zara is also commenting, I can guarantee that many in the West are not free or have a freedom of speech. I can see it. I honestly can see it, even in alternative media, by the way, right? Nothing to be said there about just ordinary life. When even people in alternative media, big names, by the way, are afraid to speak about certain topics or avoiding to speak about certain topics because of the possible consequences, right? Then what about, and these are big names, right? And many of them actually face the consequences for being outspoken. For example, George Galloway in UK, he was arrested, isn't it, at one point at the airport in a neutral territory? Isn't it? He was harassed, his wife was harassed, and for what? I can tell you for what. For being critical of Israel, correct? So there is Richard Madhurst, by the way, also was arrested and harassed by British regime, right? Why? For being critical of actions of the Israel, right? And that's one side of the story. There are also other topics that are dangerous. In UK, I don't know, man, in UK at this point, I don't even know what you can say. Not too afraid of being arrested, man. Is there anything left in UK, for example, that you can say during the podcast or you can write on Facebook or something or Twitter? Is there any topic safe in football? Maybe football, by the way, sports. Maybe you can say something in regards to sports. And even then, probably you have to be careful, right? Because there is a billion elements somewhere waiting for being insulted, right? And they will press the charges that you say something that they feel they're threatening, or some stuff like that, and police will come to you, man. It's insane. It's insane, man. And they are calling us Russia dictatorship, and there is no freedom of speech, and you cannot say nothing, you cannot ever disagree with the government, criticize government, and that kind of bullshit, man. Really? Crazy, man. You know, I really believe, by the way, that as a human beings, and I have lived in England, by the way, right? I was living for years, by the way, 4 or 5 years. I spent quite a number of years in UK. And the UK was different then, by the way, right? It was a comfortable country to live, man. I'm not gonna lie. It was like 25 years ago from now, or 25 years ago, I come back. So then maybe I went 30 years ago. Anyways, right? 2 or 3 decades ago, UK was a different country. It was from my memories, by the way, it was good, man. All good, right? Country like country, man. There was no craziness that was happening right now. You can talk freely to other people. You can express opinions. You can joke, by the way, right? Now you cannot even joke in UK because someone gonna get offended by it, and then you're gonna end up in jail, man, for a day, or who knows, maybe even for a year, man, right? So 20, 30 years ago, UK was a very different country in a very different place, and it only took like 2, 3 decades, isn't it? Generation or two of escalating brainwashing, right, of their new generations, and now it's just unrecognizable. From what I have heard and read and see in regards to UK, this country is not the UK that I was living in, right? So I truly believe, by the way, I have to compare what to compare. I truly believe that we are much more free here in Russia than people in the West, either in US, by the way, or in Europe. You know, economically, financially, maybe Americans, Europeans are richer than us, right? They might have more financial wealth, right? But in terms of human wealth, right? What actually matters, I think we are in a better place, man, right? We are not praying for freaking money. We are not prioritizing some material stuff and that kind of shit, right? We are still humans, man, and we are prioritizing human things. Converse, friendship and family, friendship, all the stuff that actually matters, man, right? And we live more free. We might facing more hardship in terms of life, financial or economical or whatever, right? But I think we are much more free anyways. At least I don't have right to say something and then find myself somewhere in the freaking taiga warming up the air. I really don't have right to say anything, man, right? And I have said quite stuff, man, right? So yes, it's a sad, man. It's sad what had happened to West, especially when I know that they can do better because they were doing better. 20, 30 years ago, UK was very different country. Very different country, right? And I'm talking about like life in UK, right? Or I'm not talking about political class. Political class were always criminals, right? But to live there 20, 30 years ago, it was okay. But same time, I mean, many people will agree that some 20, 30 years ago, Canada was in very different universe also, right? Maybe even US itself was in very different universe. But now it is what it is. So, okay, dear friends, I think we had a good community chat. In terms of fundraising, we did there was donation from Scooby. Thank you very much, Scooby. There was donation through Rumble, isn't it? And also from Alexander G. From Boosty. Thank you very much to you and to everybody who supports and supported in the past my work. If I may, I will end live stream on that, dear friends. It's 3.5 hours already, and you can see I'm beginning to struggle ever more to find to build sentences, right? That's what happens when you become little or significantly tired, right? So yeah, we had a good conversation. Thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful day, and see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, new week starts, and yeah, hopefully we will have some better news. By the way, some positive news. Let's hope so. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day and take care.